Hello and welcome back to Reconnected. It's Thursday night here once again with the wonderful Joel Fisher from Scarecrow Video. What's going on, Joel?
Hey, how's it going, Ryan? Thanks for having me back.
We're delighted. You are one of my favorites, and then we get to talk about Scarecrow. For those that don't know, Scarecrow Video, if you're listening to this for the first time, I hope you already know about this, but just in case, Scarecrow Video is the largest publicly accessible archive of physical media in the U.S. in the world. Which one are we counting there?
Probably the world. We haven't
Probably the
substantiated
world.
that, but probably.
And if you're not in Seattle and can go walk in and marvel at the sheer size of it yourself, you can also rent from afar anywhere in the U.S. And it's a damn good deal. Highly recommend checking it out, and hope that you continue to support Scarecrow Video, who is looking to gain some more support. On that note, how's the support increase been going, sir?
Well, last time I was on here was about 6 months ago, and that was the week that we kind of launched our giant SOS campaign, kind of
Yep.
saying, we're having some trouble. We gotta step up and raise quite a lot of money. And the response was overwhelming. It was, so immediate and large, just from all over the place, a lot more than we expected. So that was really heartening. And so we had a lofty goal, $1.8 million, which luckily, because the response was so strong, we are not actually going to need to get to that by the end of the year. So
Wow.
the response kind of showed that there was enough support on there. Also, just getting the word out greatly increased the amount of people heading through the doors, the amount of people utilizing the rental library, using rental by mail, and so that kind of changed the dynamic as well. That kind of changed the equation. So right now, where it stands, we are looking at probably about reaching half of that goal by the end of the year, which is pretty crazy because
Yeah.
it's only been 6 months. So, but that has allowed us to, uh, have the confidence to sign a new lease in the space. So we won't be losing our space, which is very important. That was kind of
Yeah.
why the end of the year was such a big deadline and why it was such a question mark, because the lease was going to be running out. And, the board didn't want to necessarily get in the position to sign a lease that they didn't feel they could fulfill. But they made an agreement with the landlords. We're going to at least have 2 years in there. So that's pretty exciting. That doesn't mean everything is great and perfect. We still got to keep
Right.
raising the money to get to where we need to go. But we're using some of that money that's come in to kind of build towards a more sustainable situation. And so there'll be, in the new year, there'll be more announcements about plans and stuff that's going on. A lot of things in the works right now. But thanks everybody who's donated, who's supported by renting, even just getting the word out, just spreading the word
Right.
about who we are and what we do is so important.
If you're interested in helping, links for that are still in the description below. You can check that out. Their website's listed there. The Save Our Scarecrow whole campaign is still listed. You can go to social media. It would be great to have everybody come together and help out if they could.
And if you make a donation from now until the end of the year, we have a match. So a very generous donor has offered to match all donations up to $75,000. So that can go a long way, especially if you work somewhere they do matching as well. You could match with that and with the other one. So you could
Yep.
you really pack a punch with that. That's super helpful. So anything is appreciated, and keep spreading the word. Just that's always good too.
Nice. At the beginning here, we usually talk about recent pickups and watches. Are you picking up much of anything for yourself lately, or is it mostly sourcing for the store?
I'm always picking up stuff. I mean, I don't know why. I just, it's great. I only have a few this week, but I have a bunch of stuff that I haven't even gotten in yet, just because of all the sales and all the new
Right.
stuff that's coming out. So, so yeah, I can go through a couple of these.
Please, yeah.
So I got these two,
Nice.
New Rollin from Indicator, and I can't not get these. They're just such gorgeous editions. I haven't watched these particular ones yet, but based on their track record, I'll be getting all of these as long as they keep releasing them. They're just gorgeous.
Well, and beyond like incredible restorations, I don't know that we've ever discussed on the show before, but the way that Indicator used to put out big box sets for single titles, and they slimmed them down for these
Mhm.
roll-on releases in like this really tasteful way. They save shelf space.
Yeah.
They still feel premium. They're still like a hard box with a respectable booklet. They feel kind of like the perfect package.
Yeah, it's really nice. They kind of found their own unique packaging
Yeah.
and a way to get all the good stuff, the extra stuff in there, make a nice package, but still not like completely destroy your shelves. So they're pretty wonderful, and they look great on a shelf together.
Yep. Completely agree there. I've got two I wanted to highlight that I just got in this week. And then one special thing. The first one is a film that came out this year, and highlighting it because it's the UK release, but also because I did the interview with the director for this. This is Strange Darling.
Nice.
This came out from Icon Distribution over in the UK, and they do surprisingly great work. This was shot on film, so it should look great on 4K. But there's a poster and art cards in just a regular 4K case. They don't need some giant release. It's just a regular 4K. Love that that's there. This one was mentioned, oh gosh, 2 or 3 months ago on the show by Mr. Nathaniel Thompson, and I set out to get it immediately, and somehow I didn't find it for quite some time. Thankfully, I think it was Orbit and Diabolic both got them in at the exact same time, and I was able to get Hellzapoppen. This is a
Nice.
media book from over in Germany. This is the actual German cover. Here is the little cover that comes on the front so that you can take away the rating card. But this is the full cover art for this. Hellzapoppen is from 19. Oh gosh, it's not easily visible. I think it's like 41, something like that. But this is not available on Blu-ray anywhere else. This is the only place that you can get it. And this is a movie I've been dying to see for ages, and really, really excited to watch this one. We'll likely be watching it soon.
Yeah, I need to pick that up. That's been crazy hard to see. We do have a PAL copy, I think, from Australia. It's never been released in the United States ever on any format.
Right.
And I'm obviously there's some sort of rights issues. I have no idea what it is, but it's crazy that you can get these super interesting, cool American films from all over the place.
It's so odd how rights are like chopped up and separated across the territories. And in Germany, it's completely legal for them to license for some reason, and it's great. I mean, it's a release that's great. They're going to do super well with it, and because you can't get it anywhere else, that's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it seems like Germany and Australia are playing by some different rules, and thank God they are, because they're putting out a lot of good stuff that we don't get.
Fully agree. Last thing, you actually got this much sooner than I did. I just got in the brand new issue of the Physical Media Advocate. This came out a month ago, and I just got my copy. This has been far too long. This issue, first off, feels like we put it together like 3 months ago already. Very, very proud of this issue. I hope people check this out. There is some new stuff in here that I never thought we'd be able to do. I genuinely honored. We've got a couple interviews in here that are exclusive, not available anywhere else. In honor of the chat, wanted to share to highlight Mr. Sibiner. We did our first Mad Libs, and really stoked on this. We took a really fun idea, and I think did something pretty great with that. You can pick that up on Amazon or any of the retail shops that's available in the U.S. and even one in Canada still. But now the big question. Do you have time to watch anything lately? Have you been able to check anything out?
I've got a little bit of stuff. Actually, I got in a couple purchases today that were recent watches that I was like, well, damn, I got to have these. So I can go through those too. First one is going to be Slap the Monster on page 1.
Radiance.
This, if anyone hasn't checked out this yet, I mean, never doubt Radiance, honestly. They're going to never steer you wrong, pretty much. They have a great variety of stuff, and they're all just extremely solid films. This one, it's a really interesting movie. Essentially, the plot line is about there's this murder of a young girl, and it's about how the right wing press manipulates the story and the murder in order to kind of affect the outcome of the election that is happening. So very prescient and very interesting, and unfortunately still very applicable today. And it's just a fantastic film. It looks amazing on the Blu-ray as well.
Nice. Want to shout out one thing since you mentioned Radiance. I'm sure most of you in the chat have heard it, but just anybody, in case anybody has not heard it, there is I should maybe specify viral in this community is not like super world viral or anything like that, but there's a pretty popular video in the physical media community this week. The Ringer put out an episode where they had Sean Fennessy, who is one of the hosts of the podcast for The Big Picture, and he had on the one and only Tracy Letts to discuss physical media, the state of collecting, some anecdotes from his history for getting to where he's been. And they really dive into physical media. They talk about some very specific labels that they can trust, highlight some of the smaller labels. And the first thing that they talk about when they say, what's a label that is a label that you can trust? Tracy Letts immediately says Radiance Films over in the UK, and dives deep, goes deep into some details and shares everything about it. Fully recommend the video. I will specify, I know that you're watching this show and we are always long, but it's a long episode. It's an hour and 45 minutes, but they really highlight a lot of important things that will take you out of your bubble of physical media and see what other people are thinking, and really see what is getting out into the zeitgeist. And it's a very interesting look from the bird's eye view at some of these titles for sure.
Sounds great. I always love to get some more inside scoop on some of the stuff that's going on, and just to get different people's takes on everything is really valuable.
Yeah. Anything else you've been watching?
Yeah, I got a couple more. So another one I watched it first because I'd heard mixed things, but I ended up just absolutely loving it. Is Hollywood 90028.
I need to get that.
I am so excited to dive into this disc because it is completely packed with extra stuff, as Grindhouse always does. They give you way more than you would ever ask for or ever want. But it's just it contextualizes it. Also, it's just really fun to find all their hidden kind of stuff and get all the extra films and everything. But this one, it sounds like it's kind of a standard like slasher movie kind of thing, but it is not at all. So just set your expectations accordingly going in. I know a lot of people have said, oh, this is kind of boring, nothing really much happens. It's like, that's true, but I think that's what's great about it. I think that it's taking what is essentially like sort of an exploitation sort of stock plot, but actually treating it in an interesting way, like a character study way. I don't know. And plus, it's just driving around in Los Angeles at the time and seeing all the different parts of the city and how it looked. And it's really great for that alone. So I really liked it.
Funny enough, this got brought up on that episode of The Ringer as well.
Oh, wow. I have not seen that, so that's just coincidence.
Yeah, this has been highlighted on many like year-end best of list, and for good reason. The Grindhouse Releasing always tends to drop some heat when they put out these new discs. We're talking, I think this releases 3 discs, right, with the soundtrack too?
Yeah, with the soundtrack.
So they always go above and beyond on all the cuts, all the bonus features that they can. There's usually some sort of like Easter eggs where if you mess around with the menu, you'll find something hidden on there. And we're talking hours and hours and hours of enjoyment out of one single purchase, which is incredible.
Well, it's amazing considering this film is essentially something that like so few people have seen up to now. They pretty much just completely rescued it and are giving it a second chance, and it's really worth a second chance. I honestly feel like it's one of the better things I've seen this year. Absolutely.
Nice. Any other titles, recent watches?
One more. I watched the Scala documentary.
Oh, nice.
The Severn release, and talk about another stacked release. That thing is absolutely amazing with so many extras. I didn't have time to watch any of the short films or any of the things on there, but the documentary itself, you know, if you're a lover of cinema and you're a lover of like going to the cinema for the experience of seeing it, it's an essential documentary because it's just a lot of people talking about, you know, how important, you know, going there kind of shaped their trajectory in the world,
Yeah.
how it shaped their tastes, and how it kind of colored their worldview, and was also just kind of a safe space during a time of like a lot of turmoil, social turmoil, um, you know, where a lot of people that were on the outside and the fringes, you know, they didn't feel welcome in society because their society was actively hostile to them, and like that's across the spectrum of different kind of, you know, social outcasts or whatever you would say, but they could all come here and they could all watch these interesting films and all connect in a meaningful way. So it's just really a really fascinating, interesting documentary.
I need to see this one. Yeah, the amount of people that have loved it in the Discord are great, and I mean, obviously this got 2 releases in the last year, this and BFI, and
Yeah.
everybody across the board seems to think that it's an incredible doc. So I definitely need to get this.
Yeah, it shows the importance of, you know, having these kind of spaces where people can connect with like-minded individuals, you know, preferably in like a physical space, because I feel like the physical space is something that, you know, with everything being so you know, over the internet and whatever, you know, we're losing a little bit of, and it's a different sort of experience when you're actually just in the same space with someone. And what's most important about it, I think, was the fact that they, you know, with their programming, uh, you know, just were like, we're gonna do everything. We're gonna show highbrow. We're gonna show lowbrow. We're gonna be, you know, show a lot of like queer cinema before that was really a thing
Yeah.
being shown anywhere. Just we're gonna show all kinds of things. So even if you were just maybe gravitating necessarily towards one thing or one genre or any of that stuff, it would, you know, if you just hang around and you just are open to it, you can absorb all those different things and all the different kind of people that are around. And, you know, that's just such an integral thing for, you know, the creation of new ideas, the creation of new, you know, art and culture. And, you know, they at the end, they go through a list of all the people that, you know, are filmmakers and whatever who you know, went there and stuff. And it's pretty substantial. And, you know, it's pretty impressive.
And honestly, it was not a bad price for everything that you get with it. It was pretty fairly priced.
Yeah, there's a I watched some of the extra stuff on there. I mean, there's on the Severn one, there's like 2 discs of just like short films and other
Yep.
things. But there's actually a documentary, I think it's from like 1991, that they actually shot during the time the theater was open. And some of it's used in the documentary, but a lot of it isn't. And so it's really fascinating to see the types of different people there and talk to the programmers and everything, like, and be in the space when it was an actual, you know, thriving cinema space.
Able to look at the good times while you're in them rather than after.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, so I don't know what has happened since, I don't know, Thanksgiving ish. I've exploded. I've watched so much more than I've normally been able to. I've been trying to watch a movie a night, and now I haven't watched one since Tuesday, and it feels really weird. I have watched a decent amount over this last week. One, wife and I got to the theater to see the new movie Y2K. It's an A24 film directed by Kyle Mooney. It is essentially, what if the Y2K scare thing happened, and instead of all the software going down, all the machines came back and attacked us? And that idea is really fun, and
Uh-huh.
they live up to that potential for about 4.5 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is just like wasted potential of
Uh,
storyline.
that's
Uh,
disappointing.
it really is. I really liked a lot of the practical effects that they used for that really great moment in the middle there. But man, the second and third act was just a slog after you showed us what it could have been in the very beginning. Other than that, some of the humor just doesn't land. But if you're somebody that's turned 18 anywhere between, I don't know, 96 and 2006, you're probably going to enjoy a lot of this movie. It is a trip down nostalgia hall
Hmm.
completely. It's definitely trying to cling on to as much of that as they possibly can.
Well, that sounds interesting. I mean, I like, you know, the nostalgia. That's There's so much of that out there. I just wish it would have sounded like it, you know, it was a better movie. Unfortunately.
Yeah, if only. Next thing, let me see what else I watched. A lot. So I'm only going to highlight a couple. The 2019 film Hammer. This is a movie that has, as far as I can tell, no physical media release. Watch this on Amazon Prime. It stars Mark O'Brien and the one and only Will Patton. Mark O'Brien is a probably 21 to 23-year-old that is at the very beginning of the movie. There's we'll say a drug transaction happening, and not everything goes according to plan, and some violence happens, and he's on the run for a little bit. And running through town, he comes across his father, played by Will Patton, and he's like, "What are you doing? What's going on? You're acting crazy." And they team up to try to like get control of the situation. And eventually, this drug dealer takes his little brother hostage and tries to leverage that into taking control of the situation. This is a movie that was made on a shoestring budget, and you can tell,
Hmm.
not really in a bad way, because this didn't need like action set pieces, and even
Hmm.
then they kind of go there in a couple scenes. But this story is just great. It's like the perfect type of crime thriller that ups the ante on every single scene. There's a
Hmm.
couple scenes that you could almost call it twist, but really it's just like cleverly written. So it's
Okay.
not really a twist, but it's a really great storyline. Very happy with it. Mark O'Brien is great in this. Will Patton is one of the best character actors of all time. He's always amazing. This whole movie definitely should be watched by everybody. It's over on Amazon Prime right now, and it's a gem of a movie. It is shocking how good this thing is. I love this.
Yeah, I have not heard of it. That probably just, you know, snuck by me, most likely because it didn't get any form of physical release. But it sounds like a good watch.
It's a fun watch for sure, and I will say there's a really great scene in a cornfield. I don't want to spoil anything, but keep an eye out on
Okay.
that. It is fantastic. Next, I watched I don't know what to call this, a remake, a reboot, a continuation. The release from this year of Street Trash, and
Oh.
it was very heavy on the street, but even heavier on the trash. I did not like this whatsoever. I think the practical effects were great, and it seemed like the creators behind this had, I don't know, about 8 or 9 different ideas for how to exploit practical effects and make it look extra goopy and fluorescent, and those are great.
Hmm.
They didn't even have a solid plot to get from point A to point B, so it just sort of fell apart. I would have loved to see this in more capable hands, but it was, I don't know, it was worth seeing once. I will literally never see this again.
Yeah, that does not instill me with confidence. I was already not at all interested as someone who doesn't love Street Trash, the original. I mean, it's
Yeah,
I have fondness for it, but you know, it's fine. I don't hate it, but I don't also love it. And so I was just kind of indifferent towards this, but I haven't heard a lot of great things. So that's not very comforting.
last one I'll highlight. This one's slightly delayed, but I finally got up with Heretic, another A24 film that just released in the last month or so. This movie is starring Hugh Grant, and he is somebody that is at home, and 2 young Latter-day Saints missionaries that are both female come up to his front door trying to preach him the good word, and he brings them inside, and things happen. Not much you can say about this movie without spoiling stuff. I will say I thought this movie was fairly cleverly written. I thought it was a pretty tight script up until at least they go through the doors, which if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And after that, I feel like the director just they had a really great tight script up until this point and then said, all right, I'm done. I don't know what to do. And then realized, well, that was only like 55 minutes. We need another half hour. And the last
Mhm.
half hour isn't terrible, but man, does it not live up to the first 2 acts of this movie. I was thrilled to see it, and I still gave it 4 stars because the first couple thirds of this is pretty great. But man, and the last minute of this, I think they really nailed. But other than that, the last, I don't know, 24 minutes of the last 25 are pretty rough. I think they made a couple decent choices to sort of subvert your expectations, but other than that, it was a fun watch.
So it didn't ruin it for you, at least.
Not at all. I think it was still a very cleverly written movie, and I definitely want to hear the commentary.
Yeah, because sometimes I will dislike a movie more that has potential and gets me right off the bat, and then like loses it in the third act or something, more than one that's like more mediocre throughout but solid. I don't know. It's just maybe it's the expectations based on like what you're thinking about it as you're watching it, like what's going to happen, and then all your ideas are way better than what it ends up accomplishing, and that's just very unfortunate.
Yeah, I've had a couple recent watches like that didn't go that way, but what can you do? It seems like a lot of horror over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. They've got a really solid opening, really solid first act, sort of middling, and lost the plot a little bit in the second act, and then a lot of them just can't nail an ending.
Yeah, I avoid a lot of new horror, like just because I like to have a buffer between when they come out and when I actually decide to watch them, so I can weed out all like the hyperbole of the
scariest movie of all time.
Yeah, it's just I feel like it lets me watch them on their own terms. But I did watch Barbarian, and it definitely suffers from the same exact thing.
Yep, I definitely see that. On that note, as somebody that has worked at Scarecrow for so long, there's so much happening right now. We talked about the Tracy Letts video. One other piece of news that came out today, which isn't in like the announcements that we're going to cover for tonight, but still important. We probably should mention it. LG officially not producing any more 4K or Blu-ray players moving forward. What is out there going to the stores is it. That's the end of the batch. They're not in the market anymore. And I'll say, to me, it's sort of a mixed bag. Like, obviously, less companies doing it is bad.
Mm-hmm.
However, LG's not been like a solid contender in the market. They've always been more on like the entry point side, which is important. Obviously, we need cheaper items, but they've never been like a bastion for quality. How do you feel about them exiting?
I mean, like you said, it's never good when more and more companies decide that they're going to step away from that, just because it just shakes confidence in people. The people that are just the normal people out there are just like, well, yeah, that's just obvious because no one cares about discs and that kind of stuff. And it's just more, just probably shakes confidence in other companies to kind of reassess what they're doing. I've had an LG region-free Blu-ray for I don't even know how long, and it's never given me any problems. I love it. So it's sad because I feel like their stuff it's a little bit less expensive, but it is pretty reliable.
Yeah,
it's lasted for 10 years at least at this point, which is pretty good for a player.
Yeah, it's
a lot of use.
Great. And one that is known for being like entry level, even more impressive.
Yeah.
We still have Sony and Panasonic going strong. Those are easily the two most recommended in the space nowadays, with Oppo being gone and not really anyone else stepping up to like the high end quality side. But also the discs or the consoles with disc drives for the current market generation that everybody's still using for video games that still play those films. That's got to be one of the biggest things right now. But even those are kind of going the way of the dodo too, as they're trying to get away from disc drives.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to, more than any other thing, is going to affect people that are not hardcore into physical media. If you don't have entry level, consumer grade kind of decently priced things, then people are going to say, well, I don't really want to invest hundreds of dollars to get a new player.
Right.
So they might just be like, it's not worth it to me. And so it's unfortunate, but I feel like, if you can buy a player for $50 or something, you might be willing to take a chance. Like, I have discs and I'll just get a new player. My whatever PlayStation or whatever I was using isn't working anymore, or I go to the next one and doesn't have a drive, but it's it's never good when less people have access to the stuff they need to play the physical media, because it's not going to do any good if you can't play it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had money right now to to drop on like 2 backups, for
Yeah,
anything happening. I mean, I'd love to have 2 of the higher end Panasonics ready to go in the closet.
it's actually kind of crazy because, at Scarecrow, I feel like daily we're getting people in there that are like, where can I get a VCR that works?
Yep.
People want them now, and you just can't get good ones. And, it's a problem to get decent ones for us that are not, incredibly expensive at this point. Um, so it's just going to be the same for any of this technology, and hopefully there's still going to be people out there that are going to see. I feel like Sony is always going to make something because it's their format for the most
Right.
part. So, if they don't support their own format, then we have a real problem.
That is very, very true. Sibner says Scarecrow should sell secondhand players. Is that something they do or have ever considered?
We have on occasion when we've gotten too many donated to us, but a lot of times people just give us broken ones, and so that's not very
Yeah.
helpful. And when, we can't like repair them or any of that stuff. We're not super techy as far as that stuff goes. But a lot of the time now we're just hoarding them for ourselves because we
Yep.
want to be able to provide rental machines for any of the kind of stuff that we rent out. Because, like I said, it doesn't do anybody any good if they can't play it.
Very, very, very true. So yeah, wanted to talk about that. Now, the other big thing is with modern cinema in theaters and also with physical media, we often get waves that sort of tell a story. And we were talking about this before we went live, that there are so many titles that have come out this year that we were told for years these would never be released. And we're talking Little Darlings, the Vinegar Syndrome 1, 2, 3 of the Keep, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and Cannibal the Musical. We're talking about Gummo coming from Criterion, or Happiness, or Hell's a Pop, and I think that was this year. There's so many films that have been gone for so long, and it seems like this year was sort of a holy shit, like we're still here, we're still doing it sort of year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel any trends like that being in the position that you are?
Uh, well, I do see that people are just overall more than they were even a couple years ago, just more interested in physical media in general.
Yep.
But it's for a variety of reasons. There's a lot of people that are just like really into collecting it now. They're just
Yep.
like, I like getting it. Like kids that are like, weren't around when VHS was a viable format at all. They're just like, they come in, they're like, I want to collect VHS. I want to get all this different stuff on it. So like, that's super cool. And I don't know how people are getting into this because I don't know what younger people, what they do, how they find out about stuff, but it's pretty cool. And it's cool that there can be a space like Scarecrow where a whole bunch of different kind of people from different ages and that are coming at it for different reasons can kind of like connect and discuss this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's just fun.
It is fun. And I think the important thing is to really realize a lot of us, we're kind of becoming a niche within a niche, even
Mm-hmm.
because the outer niche is just people that like film. And
Mm-hmm.
we can see that is going away too. Not only like going to the theater, but just people watching movies. And
Yeah.
so as people watch that less and consume regular like YouTube media more and more, now we're getting to the point of, well, we're the dinosaurs on a couple sides of this. And so physical media inside of streaming overall is really diluting those overall numbers.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's like everything else that is being corroded by like the out of control capitalistic society that we live in. Everything is like being mined for every last nickel that you can get out
Yep.
of it, which is unfortunately uh, eroding the actual artistic nature of it. I mean, even just something that is like a popcorn kind of fun whatever movie is now you can't. You just can't make specific things anymore. It just isn't possible because of the finances.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you have a lot of interesting stuff going on in YouTube space and whatever online of people just making things the way that they want to make things. But there's so much of that that you can't actually necessarily connect with it all. So it's just an interesting dynamic. We're kind of in a flux place, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think making movies like is going away. It's unfortunate that it's harder and harder to get folks into a theater, because I do think that's the optimal kind of experience, to be away from, as long as you can be away from all distractions, for one, like nobody has their phones and stuff. Everybody is kind of like having the shared experience. It's like you're having a shared experience, and like you're reacting and feeling what people in the audience are, but you're also sort of alone in it. It's a hard experience to sort of describe, but I don't know, that makes it really special. But if you're not showing stuff that people find valuable to go out and do, just because no one has any money, so that's another issue. Like, well, I don't have the money to do this thing. I would like to maybe see this, but is it worth all this time, all this money that I have to put in? I don't know.
We the only reason we've been going to the theater so much is because we finally bit the bullet and did AMC A-list, and being able to see, I don't know, what is it, 12 movies a month each, and we've never done that. I think the most we've ever done is 3.
Yeah.
But what's funny is at 2 movies, it pays for itself, and so even if we do 2, we're still kind of saving money in the whole grand scheme of things. So it's been a game changer for us, for sure.
It's a great deal if there's more than 2 movies you want to see, like, in a year.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm always like, I wish there was more things that I like really wanted to see. Like, I wanted to go see Juror Number 2, but I couldn't go see it.
You couldn't go in the 14 minutes it was in theater?
Yeah, because it literally was playing nowhere in a major city at all. Like, how do you have it not playing anywhere in a major city? That's like, Seattle is like a giant movie city. So I don't understand how you would just not do it. But I think these companies are just trying. They don't know what to do. They're just trying different things, and they're just making odd decisions.
It's true, and that will likely always happen.
Well, it's just it's unfortunate because you have a director like Clint Eastwood or something who's been with Warner for so long and made them a lot of money, and he's kind of reaching the end of his career. You'd think they'd want to be like, let's give him one more thing and get it out there so people can see it and whatever. But it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what you did for me before. It only matters what you're going to do for me now. And we don't think this kind of filmmaking is going to make anybody money. It's like, but maybe people want that kind of filmmaking. Maybe you're not giving them that kind of filmmaking, and so it's not making any money because it's not there. It's just hard to know.
Ronnie says Conclave starts streaming on Peacock tomorrow, which is great because I'm dying to see it, and I did not get to see it in theaters. So I will be watching that this weekend, I hope. On the note of doing something unique, one of the things that we are doing tonight after the announcements is covering 5 of our favorite discoveries from this year and how to see them on physical media. I don't know about you. I went a step further and tried to say it had to be 5 different labels that put them out as well.
Oh, okay.
And I was trying really hard because, funny enough, I recorded another show for somebody else earlier today that was also 5 discoveries. I was extra hard on myself, and I said no overlap between the 2. I could have easily just done the same 5, but I've got 5 different ones here. Eager to talk about them. Eager to hear yours. I know we had a couple people when you did your Code Red show with us. They went out and tracked down every single title that you mentioned so that they could watch them. And I had a couple people that were very excited for our lists.
Yeah, I heard that. And that's really exciting because that's the whole point of this, just spreading the word, sharing what you care about.
It is, it's such a great community. And I know that I say that often, and I don't want to water it down, but the people that care about these enough to have a similar sort of shared experience, like I guarantee at least 2 of the movies that I put out tonight are 2 releases from physical media from this year, and one might have been from this year, so it might be 3. So
Mhm,
most people that have never seen these before are discovering the same thing, and now we can all talk
mhm.
about them together and have the same sort of reaction and have discourse about the film, which is always great. I love that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's nice, when people they have that trust in you where you can recommend something and they can actually take
Yeah.
their time and their effort to track that down because that you recommended it to them, and
Yep.
that's really exciting. And it's even better when they just when they feel like it was worthwhile or really like it, and that sets them on another path to discover all sorts of different
Yeah.
things.
Brendan's got a comment here. He says, "I heard that the top 20 or so, I believe the stat that came out is the top 10 grossing films worldwide this year are all sequels or remakes of pre-existing properties." And he goes on to say, "The lack of originality and reliance on proven markets makes me sad." Even more so, that is odd about this. This is the first year in history that the top 10 grossing films worldwide are remakes and sequels only. Not a single original film made the top 10 grossing worldwide, which is, it's crazy that it took this long, but also
Yeah,
that sucks.
it's been trending that way for a good while, though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just it has nothing to do with actual originality, because there are people that would make original things, but they can't because the corporations that control the things that make the most money are not interested in that. They just want something that's safe.
Yep.
I mean, that's just what it is, unfortunately, because none to the studios as they are at this point in time, they're just multinational corporations that have lots of different areas that they're into, and they have no special affection for film. It's not like they started the company because they wanted to make films or anything. They just bought it because they wanted to diversify. And so, now they're just looking at the bottom line and they're saying,
Yep.
we're spending a lot of money on these. We don't want to take any risks. That's just that's just how it works. And but it's getting worse every year. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's crazy to that point is they will, in a heartbeat, sign off on a $200 million budget sequel, but won't sign off on 4 $10 million comedies. And one of those comedies might break out and make 180 million, but we'll never know.
Well, the excuse they always used was advertising. Like, well, if we make a movie that's like $5 or $10 million, we still have to spend a lot of money to advertise it. It's like, you don't, though. Right now, the you can do lots of creative things using the internet, especially if you're
Yep.
making a genre movie or something that has a built-in audience. You can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you would take the chance on it, and if it doesn't come off, you're not out that much. But if you take the chance on a $200 million movie and it doesn't come across, then you're really screwed. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But I think, as far as these companies, they're just like, do the same thing that we've been doing because we don't know what else to do.
Right. And here we are.
Exactly.
Now all mid-budget films are gone. It's literally nowadays it's like $200 or $200 million films, or somebody in their backyard making it for $14, and that's it.
And honestly, when I look back at a lot of the films that I really love, a lot of them are those mid-budget movies.
Yep.
They're just like they're they had enough money to make it look professional, to make it be able to create the world that they were creating, but uh, they were not too expensive where they were still allowed the creative freedom to do what they were going to do with that
Yep.
project. And that's just, both of those in combination together just creates just things that stand the test of time, even 30 years, 40 years, or whatever later.
Fully agreed. Yeah, there's a lot we could talk about in this. But instead, how about we talk about some announcements, sir?
We should probably get to those.
This week started off strong with Warner Archive. Our first announcement this week is the complete CinemaScope collection of Tom and Jerry coming to Blu-ray on February 11th from Warner. They are putting out 23 of these cartoons with 3 bonus cartoons attached to it. Cannot wait to get this one. I will buy pretty much anything animated that Warner Archive does.
Yeah, I'm glad they are very committed to the classic animation because they do a good job with it, and they have just a giant library of the stuff. So if Warner Archive wasn't putting it out, then it would just be languishing.
100%. Next one is the complete series of Cheyenne, also coming on Blu-ray from Warner. This will come on January 28th. This will have 4K scans of the OCNs for this entire run. This is 107 complete uncut episodes from all 7 seasons, 30 disc set in this. This is going to be a massive set. I don't love Westerns, but I love that Warner Archive is putting money into archiving these type of things. I mean, what other company is going to put a 30 freaking disc Western film collection of a TV show from 1955 right now?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a crazy release because I figured that they would, maybe be like, let's put out it by seasons so we can see how they're going to do. But I guess they don't care, and that's cool. I'm glad this is getting out there for the fans of this.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a specific fondness of this, but I'm glad that it'll be out there in the best possible version for people. It is pretty. It's going to be a pretty daunting set, But there are still a lot of fans of classic TV. There's so many Western shows that haven't been released, and just on Blu-ray classic TV stuff, there isn't a whole lot of it still coming out. So at least they're doing it right.
I just love that there is around 5,500 minutes of 4K scans for this show, and they're like, fuck it, let's just do it all in one bonus release for everybody. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's great that they are willing to spend the time to do the restorations, just even if they haven't released them, to do the restorations for the first part, because none of the labels could afford to do something like this. It would only have to be from a studio, and most studios aren't. So as long as Warner Archive is still in there kind of doing what they're doing under the radar, at least this stuff will getting interesting releases every month.
Absolutely true. Speaking of a similar sort of title, Last Stand at Saber River getting a Blu-ray release on January 28th from Warner Archive. This is the 1997 film that is going to get a 4K scan of the OCN as well. This is starring Tom Selleck and 2 of the Carradine brothers. I don't think I've seen this one, but I'm curious to see it. This is back when Elmore Leonard stuff was really taking off for a lot of people.
Yeah, I've not seen this. It's an interesting choice, but I kind of like that about Warner Archive. They kind of throw out lots of unique stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's good when, there's a little bit something for every kind of taste.
Speaking of that, one that is very different from this one, Daffy Duck's Quackbusters from 1988 getting a Blu-ray release on January 28th from Warner as well. This will also include 7 modern-era Looney Tunes shorts, all in HD, which is freaking great. So glad they're doing this. I remember watching this a few times as a kid, and I thought I would never be able to see this again. This is so crazy that they're releasing this.
I have a soft spot for this, because I remember watching it a lot. It was on, I think it was on HBO a lot.
Yep.
It was on one of those cable channels, but I always love this one. It's weirder watching them now because I'm a little bit more discerning. I can see like, wow, the animation looks way cheaper on these other parts than like on because they recycle the actual cartoons. Yep. And then they like bridge them with these others. Anyway, it's still really fun. I'm glad this stuff's getting out there. I hope they continue with the Looney Tunes movies because those are all pretty fun.
Hard agree there. Then the next one, getting its first Blu-ray release in the U.S. at least, January 28th, we'll see a release of Just Friends from 2005. Hell of a cast in this one: Ryan Reynolds, Amy Smart, Chris Klein, and Anna Faris. This one is one that's going to have a bunch of bonus features, blooper reel, deleted scenes, alternate endings, stuff like that. However, this one was going for some money on the second-hand market because it got a Canadian release, but never saw a U.S. release.
Yeah, this one confused me because I was like, I saw this got released, but I was thinking of the Canadian one because that Canadian one's been out for forever at this point. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen this. This isn't really my thing, but
It's
glad it's getting out
not
there.
great. It's not great. I'm glad it's getting released, but it is not a great movie.
It's just interesting. I wonder, do they just choose randomly based on what's ready to go? Because some months seem to have a theme and some months really don't.
This month is very weird for Warner Archive. Very weird. I don't know. Next up, Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles, the complete series. This is coming on January 28th. This will have a couple bonus features, some shorts, the Monster Rock, The Adventures of Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles. This will be on 2 Blu-ray discs. It'll be 18 episodes. And I remember watching this one a little bit when I was younger, but I don't remember a lot of details on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if I've watched this. A lot of those Hanna-Barbera shows kind of blend together for me, but it's sort of crazy that they're getting these just gorgeous releases because the animation is like the most cheap animation up until Funimation. It was like Hanna-Barbera was the cheapest animation. So,
Yep.
but that's great. I'm glad that they're reaching their fullest potential, and there's a big audience for these. There's a lot of people that are wanting the stuff to get out there. So that's good that Warner, they have all the stuff in their library and they're treating it right.
And a lot of this has not seen the light of day in some time now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. Moving right along, January 28th, Warner Archive putting out Gabriel Over the White House. And definitely going to read the synopsis on this one. It says, as America despaired during the early days of the Depression, Hollywood met the challenge with chorus girls, gangsters, romances, a few dramas of social realism, and this one-of-a-kind, thoroughly astonishing fantasy, Gabriel Over the White House. Walter Houston gives a bravura performance starring as a corrupt U.S. president who has a brush with an angel after a near-fatal crash and awakens determined to right all of America's wrongs now or by any means possible. Towering like a Yankee colossus, he sweeps constitutional safeguards aside to tackle poverty, crime, and world peace as a populist dictator, winning the adulation of a grateful nation. This is one that seems very timely to put out. Will even mentioned this on the show a couple months ago. This will also have a few classic 1933 cartoons with it in HD, I should say. This is an immediate purchase for me. This is one I definitely have to have.
This movie is so good. I love this movie. It's completely insane and like mind-blowing that it's just crazy when you see something made at a certain time that is just like you're like, I don't even know how they got away with doing this kind of stuff, but it's great. And I'm so excited to actually see a restored version of it because, the Warner Archive DVD of it isn't the best. So this should be just much better. I recommend this to everybody. It's a really fun movie and it's really provocative too.
There's something about 2025 that feels like everybody should have a copy of this. I don't know.
It's sort of fascinating because he does become a fascist, but he's like a ultra like left wing, like it's so weird. It's just like I can't really explain the tone of this movie.
Right.
Anybody that hasn't seen it, but Walter Houston is fantastic in this.
On it. It's a must buy. Then Kino announced they're putting out a Blu-ray of I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This is the Clive Owen film from 2003 that was done by Mike Hodges. This got a recent release from Imprint on Blu-ray, and I think that was the first Blu-ray of the film ever. And so Kino following it up with the U.S. release. As usual, they might port over a couple of the Imprint extras and then probably do a new commentary and call it a day. It looks good on Blu-ray from Imprint, so it'll probably be the same scan. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. How do you feel about this one?
I haven't seen it since it came out. I remember it being pretty solid. It's nice that, it's getting a US release for people that don't want to pay to import the Imprint one.
Yep. Yeah, Imprint titles are... Did I say Imprint? Import titles are expensive. I forgot this one was this week. January 28th, Lionsgate thinks they are making the best of calls by putting out an Amazon exclusive 4K steelbook of the Vin Diesel starring The Last Witch Hunter from 2015. I I don't get it. This is such an odd choice to put on 4K in 2015.
I forgot about this movie completely. And I'm with you. I don't really understand why they're like lavishing so much onto this. I don't know. I can't. I don't. Are people clamoring? I don't know. I really don't understand.
I don't even feel like Vin Diesel has pull in 2024. I don't know.
No idea.
But there it is. You can get it on Amazon right now. Then Kino steps in and announced a 4K and Blu-ray release of the 1993 movie Coneheads. How do you feel about Coneheads, Joel?
I kind of love this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's one of those movies where when it came out, it was on cable so much. I've seen this movie so many times, but I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'll probably buy the 4K, even though it's completely insane. And I should probably rewatch it to see, how I feel about it. But I kind of want to support them, taking chances with stuff like this. It's the more 4Ks that they can do, the better. And I feel like they're a little reticent to, step outside of their normal comfort zone of the 4Ks.
Yeah. There's something about Coneheads. It's funny because it's at its heart, like, it's really not a great movie. It's really only one gimmick that is joked about for the entire runtime, but it works. It's super charming. I love this movie. Not to mention,
yeah.
I just miss like prime Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin.
Definitely. The weird thing about Coneheads is the fact that it didn't even come out until way later. Like, no one cared about Coneheads anymore, and then the movie came out.
It was years after it.
I don't know, but it's kind of nice. Like, I think that does add to the charm of it. It has a great cast too. Just like, it's populated by so many funny people throughout all the different roles.
Oh yeah, Farley and Sandler and a bunch of people.
And everybody's just like got a little bit to do in it, and it seems like it's fun. Like, it was fun to make. Everyone's having a good time.
Yeah.
I do like me some Dan Aykroyd, and it's just, yeah. I'm glad they're doing it. It is random though.
It is super random. Then Noble House. We got some release details on this one. This is coming on February 25th. This is the Pierce Brosnan starring sort of mini series here. We got 4 episodes, and all of them have commentaries by Amanda Reyes. One of them, she is joined by Frank Chang. One of them, she's joined by Mike White. And then another one, she is joined by Scott Humphreys. The first one, she's all by herself. I've heard good things about this one, but never seen this. Were you ever able to see Noble House?
I've never seen it. But more miniseries is good. I'm happy with that. So hopefully it does good for them.
Yeah, Kino constantly churning out some of these made-for-TV miniseries and made-for-TV movies are great. Like, not anyone else is focusing on it as much as they have.
I know, and I hope that they're doing all right, because they, like, earlier this year they put out Fatal Vision, which is an amazing miniseries, and they spent a lot more money, I think, on that than they really intended to, and then they were kind of like, okay, let's just not cancel it. Let's just keep going. But if that doesn't sell, then they're not going to do that in the future, and no one else is going to do that. So I just really hope that people are supporting these releases.
Yeah, that's a big worry. A lot of these, the rights are more expensive, but beyond that, even finding the elements are more expensive too, because a lot of them were not archived properly. So
yeah, and the longer these are, the more, that's like the equivalent of doing 2, 3, 4 different movies.
Right. Absolutely true. Next one, Shout, putting out a sort of standard edition of A Place Further Than the Universe, the complete series. This is an anime series that I have never seen. I'm assuming you have not either there, Joel.
Yeah, anime is a weak point with me. I don't know a ton about it, and I have not seen this.
Good. Next, February 25th is when we get the 4K release of Graveyard Shift from Kino Lorber. This one will have a new audio commentary with Howard S. Berger and Mark Edward Hook. How do you feel about Graveyard Shift?
Pretty fun. I don't know about the slipcover though.
It's definitely not from the movie, but it's fun art.
Like, it kind of reminds me actually of like an 80s Stephen King paperback. So that's kind of cool, but it's just this movie has some really cool original art, and I know that it's going to be on the inside, but
Yep.
it's such a weird statement to make on your slipcover.
It is. Has very little to do with the movie, and you'll never see imagery like this in the film. But at least it's good art.
Yeah.
I like the movie quite a bit. Do you like Graveyard Shift?
It's fun. I haven't seen it in a bit, but I always remember enjoying it. It's fairly minor as far as Stephen King goes, and I feel like it's not particularly grounded in anything, but killer rat stuff is always fun.
In our chat, Sibner says Tarzi said they were going to put out Murder, She Wrote, but they didn't have the infrastructure to accomplish all of the restorations. That is disappointing and also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand that. That's like, 12, 13 seasons of shows that each season is
like 25 episodes.
20 something episodes. It's unfortunate. Hopefully Universal will decide to take that on themselves.
I certainly hope somebody does eventually. In one of the most surprising pieces of news from the week, Pinocchio 964 from 1991 got a 4K announcement from Media Blasters. Very curious. Have you seen this one, Joel?
I've always been curious, and I've never seen this, but the artwork is very striking, and I've always been curious about it. I guess now I'll wait for the 4K.
Well, it's not even the last time we're going to talk about it tonight, so we'll share some feelings on that in just a bit. February 18th, there is a Blu-ray from Ketchup Entertainment coming for the film Weekend in Taipei from 2024, starring Luke Evans. No extras on this from what I can tell. Ketchup Entertainment jumping into the distribution game. They've put out a couple things, but the big thing is they're putting, as far as I know, they are the distributor behind the next Looney Tunes movie coming out in February.
That's random.
It is very random.
I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything about this movie, but, I wish them luck.
Yes, indeed. We talked about all these great things about Warner, but now let's talk about them releasing 4K Steelbook of The Shining on February 4th of this very minimalist artwork. Only showing up at Walmart right now. I'm not sure if it is an exclusive, but I think it is. First off, how do you feel about the art here, Joel?
I don't get it. I don't really understand the point. I don't mind minimalist stuff, but this feels sort of lazy.
Yeah, I don't like this art at all. And Warner, it's The Shining. I feel like at this point, so many of the studios, if you want to get people to double dip, I would love to see a new disc of all new extras. It's The Shining, and there are people that will literally pay you to do an audio commentary for The Shining. Let us do it, and we would love to work on it. I would be thrilled if any studio started doing that.
Warner does not seem particularly interested in making any new extras for anything that they have at this point, other than Warner Archive, which is very disappointing. When they're putting out these 4K versions, just get something, just have a retrospective thing since the last time you put out the whatever format. Just give us something, but they're not. It's especially in the US where they seem to be like, we're gonna do it as least expensively as possible. We're not even gonna give you a Blu-ray anymore. You don't get that.
And Sibner's got a good point. He says, are they allowed to do commentaries on these titles? Does the Kubrick estate allow it? Okay, don't do The Shining. Warner owns tons of titles that they could do it, that there's no estate that would have to sign off on it. A lot of times the studio can have the choice.
I can't remember the last time they added anything. I mean, they've been cranking out, to their credit, they've been putting a lot of stuff on 4K, which is good. They've been doing a decent job, but they're not adding anything to it. When they put out the Nightmare, set that they're working on, we know that they're going to put it out maybe next year. Will they add anything? No. Will they even include all the stuff from the DVD box set that had the complete disc of extra stuff? Maybe, but maybe not, which is crazy to not even include the stuff that you already produced and spent money for.
that you literally own all of the rights to. There's no question about that.
Exactly. And and they have money, you know. It's just crazy for these labels that are, like have a fraction of their amount of money, besting them at every turn.
Yeah. All right, going to our next one. Speaking of better art, A24 releasing the film we were just talking about a little bit ago, Heretic. You can pre-order this on 4K and on Blu-ray on their site. Warning to everybody, if you're going to go purchase this, or if you haven't yet and you're just curious, don't scroll too far down on this page. They have some pretty major spoilers in the pictures for this film. But I will say, I like that they're doing this. I feel like A24 is jumping more into the we're going to release our own pictures type of company lately. They're doing a lot more of these titles. And gosh, I think I've got 3 that I don't have from them right now that I need to pick up. We already talked about Heretic. How do you feel about A24 in general, or their releases?
I like some of their stuff. I don't like some of their stuff. I mean, it's weird that people group them as A20, because they release lots of different things that are not similar in any way. So
Not at all, yeah.
I'm glad they're putting out these editions. I wish that they weren't so expensive in some cases, but if that's what it takes to get the stuff out there in physical, then I guess that's what we have to live with. I don't necessarily like the trend that will set, like Lionsgate now starting to dip their toe into that. It's just unfortunate because that's going to price people out of
Right.
a lot of things, and I don't like to see that happen.
Well, and the ones that have been extra expensive are the ones that they're doing re-releases for, or something that they've licensed that was not an A24 film at the beginning. And what's great is something like Heretic that you can buy in 4K. It's $35. That's pretty standard across the board.
Reasonable for a 4K, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice if maybe they did sales every once in a while or something, but
they do one every Black Friday, but that's a long time to wait, obviously. And they've got a high free shipping threshold. It's $150. So
wow, you could buy like everything that they have if you didn't have it, and then maybe get it.
Yeah, you could. I think buying 5 titles would get you free shipping, and the shipping's kind of pricey. It's like it starts off at like $9 and then jumps up quickly to like 15.
And shipping is pretty expensive now, but that's a little bit much. Yeah, it's unfortunate because they did like Stop Making Sense or something, which is cool, and maybe I'd want to pay the amount for it, but this needs to be the definitive release, and it isn't. Right. Unfortunately, they don't have all the stuff from all the releases on there. You just need to do that. If you're going to do it, then do it right. If you want me to pay the premium, I'll pay the premium, but you got to do it right.
I agree. Next up is Francis, coming from Kino Lorber on February 18th. This is the Jessica Lange starring film. This one will have a new audio commentary by David Del Valle and Dan Marino. It also has some archival extras on here. I've not seen this one, but I have a feeling you have, sir. Have you seen Francis?
I have never seen this.
Oh, interesting. I've heard this is great. Pretty much everybody in the comments saying that they've not seen this in years and eager to see it. So I want to check this one out. Moving to our next one, we got some announcements from Umbrella. All of these are coming on April 2nd out of Australia. This first one is Daybreakers from 2009, coming on 4K. And as usual, they got one of their giant packages for it. This one will have a 100-plus page hardback book with never before seen behind the scenes and extras like that. Poster, 8 art cards, another poster. It'll be a numbered release, of course. And then for extras, they've got new gag reel, new animatics, new on-the-set featurettes, some art department lighting tests, makeup, all that fun stuff. This looks to be a pretty definitive release of this film, and I remember loving this, but I don't think I've seen this since the theater. Do you remember watching Daybreakers?
I've never seen this. I heard it was fun, and but I've never checked it out. This is a crazy release for this, though.
It is. I like this primarily because it almost feels like a fairly realistic vampire movie, and it's got a really unique take on some things. Like I think one of the most striking things I remember from this is a vampire committing suicide by walking out into the sun on purpose just to get it over with. And really, really enjoyed this movie. And of course, killer cast: Ethan Hawke and Sam Neill, and of course, as you can see in the poster on the top there, you got the one and only Willem Dafoe. How do you argue against those three?
Yeah, exactly.
Next from Umbrella is Control from 2007. This is a movie that I am very eager to see. This has a 48-page book with behind the scenes and all that stuff. New critical audio commentary with Graham Duff. New memoirs of Joy Division concerts. Not memoirs, memories. Can't read. New Joy Division feature-length documentary from 2007. Some extended live performances. This is supposed to be very good. Not one I've been able to see before. How about yourself?
Yeah, I remember when this one came out and I wanted to see it, but I just never got around to seeing it. So it's nice it's going to get, I think this has had a Blu-ray before, but this seems like it's a far superior edition. So it's nice that it's coming out.
Yeah, Umbrella stepping up. They're doing a lot of great things lately for sure. Next, another great thing they're doing is Black Death from 2010. This is from director Christopher Smith, who they recently have been giving a lot of attention to through Creep and Triangle. This one will have a 48-page book and all those art cards and posters as discussed. This will have a new interview with the director, a new interview with one of the actors, some behind the scenes, some EPK interviews, behind the scenes image galleries, trailer reel, and more. This looks like a pretty astonishing release for this. Once again, never had a chance to see this. I don't even know that I'd heard about this, but seeing a young Eddie Redmayne on the cover and Sean Bean, this looks pretty damn fun.
Yeah, I never watched this one, but the art on this is so nice. Just from that alone, I would be willing to take the chance because it's really, they did a great job on it.
I agree fully. Yeah, whoever they commissioned for this is a really good choice. Then we have You Should Have Been Here Yesterday from 2024. This is an homage to Australia's early surf culture. This will have another deluxe release, including the art cards and posters with an audio commentary by the director and producer, behind the scenes featurette. This is one that feels a little odd to go all the way with the deluxe release. But I mean, if they're selling for them, I totally get it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that the crowd that buys the deluxe releases is going to go for, which is unfortunate because it looks beautiful. Like I love the artwork on this. It's actually really, really nice. I love the style, and I love how the style on all of these are so completely different, but they're very very unique and interesting to the specific movie. So, I haven't heard of this. This seems really like a really interesting movie as well, though.
Seems like a really fun one to put on a Sunday afternoon and just chill. Next from them is Grafted from 2024. This is from their partner label Monster Pictures Presents. This is the first time this has been on Blu-ray anywhere in the world, and this will have a making of and behind the scenes trailers, TV spot sort of thing. Heard this one was pretty good. Not been able to see this one because it's brand new, but again, some evocative art and looks like a fun release.
Yeah, this is one I haven't heard of, but check it out.
Next up, Third Window in the UK. On March 10th, we'll be putting out New Religion and New Mirrors. This is a 2022 and 2024 double feature. New Religion is the main feature here, and then New Mirrors is like a short film spin-off, kind of. And they still got a bunch on here. They've got a director interview, behind the scenes, outtakes, feature-length audio commentary, some other featurettes and trailers. This looks like a solid release. And Third Window, got to shout out Adam. He always does all of this stuff all on his own. He's the main producer, does all the acquisitions. He's usually the one that does the art. It's kind of hard to beat when he's doing everything for these releases, and they come out this incredible.
Yeah, I don't know these specific films, but Third Window does a great job. And they pick a lot of really unique films. So, it's one of those where I trust their curation. Absolutely.
Same. 100%. Next up is over in Germany, Turbine doing 3 more films for their 3D collector series. You got Bumblebee, Transformers, Rise of the Beast, and Sing 2. There was an issue in the original Sing 2 Blu-ray release, I believe, over in Germany with some of the text, and they fixed that for this release. And I just got to say kudos to Turbine for continuing to focus on 3D. Not many are being able to do that anymore, and they sort of kill it with many of
Is
these releases.
anybody putting out 3D stuff anymore?
3D
Honestly,
Film Archive, that's about it.
yeah. I mean, I've never been a fan of 3D, honestly, but like, I'm glad that that there's some people putting out stuff for the people that have the TVs and the equipment and can watch them. So that's great. Yeah.
This is exciting. I love that they're doing this. Let's see what is up next. We've got a ton of 88 films announcements. These are all going to be 88 films. Most of these are going to be UK only. If it's also available in the US, I will say so. This one is March 24th in the UK, March 25th in North America on Blu-ray, and that is The Lady is the Boss from 1983. This is going to include a slipcover with new art, a double-sided poster. This will also have an audio commentary by Frank Jang, a trailer, and a Sam Ho on Lau Kar Lung by Fred Ambroisine. Good-looking release. Not a film I've been able to see before.
You can't go wrong with Lau Kar Lung. So there you go.
Indeed. Next one, Assault Jack the Ripper. This is UK only, coming on March 24th as part of their Nekatsu Roman porno line. This was previously released on DVD by Mondo Macabro, and if you're waiting on a Blu-ray from them, heads up that Jared said Nekatsu has not been returning his phone calls, so this is not coming from Mondo Macabro anytime soon, sadly.
Do we think that someone has it in the US, or do they just have no interest? Because, 88 could have released it in the US if they got it in the UK, right?
Probably, which is telling. From what I hear, Nekatsu's sort of expensive to license in each territory, and so maybe they just said, let's do it in one, and everybody that's a collector, if they want it, they'll get it from the UK no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty niche films, even within a niche
Right.
of everything else. So I can understand that. You don't want to spend as much licensing it as that you can't ever recoup it.
I had to look and make sure I still had it. This will have a new audio commentary by Amber T and Jasper Sharp. New introduction by Kai Chiba. Yeah, if you are into this sort of release, this might be a good one to get. I'm just glad they're continuing with the Nekatsu Roman porno films. Speaking of that, one more, Girl Hell. This is specifically Yumeno Kyusaku's Girl Hell from 1977. Turns out there's a couple movies with this title. This is also from the Nekatsu Roman porno line, also coming on March 24th in the UK only. This will have a new audio commentary by Anne McKnight and Jasper Sharp. Another introduction by Kai Chiba, and then an introduction by Ken Terawaki. Never seen this one, but again, still very interested.
Yeah, it's good they're putting all this stuff. I mean, there's such a wealth of these Nekatsu movies that they could just keep putting them out. But it's nice that they're getting out here because traditionally they've been pretty impossible to see.
Not only pretty impossible to see, but like this will never stream anywhere. You can pretty much count on that. A lot of the places that are like Tubi, Freevee, I don't know any of the other ones that would do something like that, but they would never ever put up stuff like this. What is our next one from them? That is Short Night of Glass Dolls. We had this announced previously, but now we know some details. This will be on March 24th in the UK on one of their deluxe edition 4K releases. This is going to have audio commentary with Troy Howarth, Nathaniel Thompson, Eugenio Ercolani. I have an interview with the director, Aldo Lado, video essay by Pier Maria Bocci, visual essay by Mike Foster, and an interview with Stephen Thrower. Bunch of interviews that were done previously, and then It'll all be in a rigid slipcase with new art by Graham Humphreys and a perfect bound book. Looks like a great, solid competitor for what is coming out from the U.S. distributor that already announced this. Have you seen Short Night Glass Dolls?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's not up in my top tier of giallos, but it's pretty enjoyable. I'll probably pick up the Celluloid Dreams one instead, but both of them seem like way more lavish releases than this movie, maybe more than it deserves. It's like it's so much stuff for this movie, like, which is great because it's nice that every movie, if every movie could get all this stuff to contextualize it, to give background and all that kind of stuff. But it's just funny because I don't think this is anyone's favorite giallo, but this release is like so much more stacked than most other things.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I would say. This is certainly not a top tier giallo film, but and the crazy thing is this already had a pretty decent Blu-ray from Twilight Time. That's not even one of the Twilight Times that goes for like $100 or anything, but it'll be nice. The first release from Celluloid Dreams was mind-blowing. The 4K looked incredible, so I'm sure this will look great.
Yeah, well, like this one has had quite a lot of releases because Camera Obscura in Germany did a really good release of it too on Blu-ray. Yep. And then now it's got 2 4K releases coming out at the same time, which are like multi-disc stacked crazy editions. Hey, that's great. If that does good for them, then I'm happy.
Exactly. Next one, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow comes to their Slasher Classics collection on March 24th in the UK. This has archival audio commentary and a new audio commentary on this one with Amanda Reyes and the Hysteria Continues podcast. Some archival extras coming on this one. There's no mention of a new scan, so I don't imagine this will be a new scan. This is probably just the same HD scan just released over in the UK. A pretty great movie. This is super enjoyable. If you've never seen it, recommend the film. This might even be better than the VCI because of how VCI has treated this movie.
Yeah, this movie is an absolute classic. One of the best horror made-for-TV horror movies of all time. It's so creepy. It definitely just scarred a lot of young kids that watched this way too young. And surprisingly, the VCI release is pretty good. The original Blu-ray. I haven't seen the 4K release, but it does not sound like they did a very good job on that, unfortunately. Which is sad. I feel bad for VCI because I have a soft spot for them. They've been around for so long. I mean, they started out with 16 millimeter films, and they're still around, which, that should count for something, but they've kind of a little bit stayed in the past while all these other labels have kind of like set the standard, and they're just not really up to that point. But, I give them the benefit of the doubt. They put out some weird stuff that nobody else would put out. I would just wish that they did a better job with it.
We're going to talk about one of those weird ones in just a little bit, actually. Next up from 88 Films, Full Body Massage. If you forgot, this also got a release from Unearthed in the US. So this is coming on March 24th in the UK only. This will be an HD Blu-ray presentation, which means same exact scan. You've got the full frame version in SD on here as well. No new extras. Everything on here is archival. But if you're in the UK or if you passed on the Unearthed release, this might be a good one for you. Next one, this is Miracles, the Jackie Chan directed film from 1989 that a lot of people call his masterpiece. This will be a rigid slipcase, perfect bound book, double-sided poster and art cards. This will have all kinds of extras on this. This will have different dubs, different soundtracks, pretty much everything you could kind of want on this one. Audio commentary by Frank Jang and F.J. DeSanto on the Hong Kong version. So much that is coming in this film. Have you seen Miracles, Joel?
I've never seen Miracles, but I'll definitely be picking this up just because 88 Films, all their Jackie Chan stuff has been fantastic so far.
Yeah, and when they're updating them to these brand new versions, it's kind of hard to turn down, especially these like hard box, super great 4K releases. This looks pretty incredible. Next title is the Stanley Kwan film Center Stage. This is coming to the 88 Asia Collection on March 24th in the UK only. This will be a HD Blu-ray presentation, an interview with the director, a couple of archival interviews. Center Stage sounds great. I've not been able to see this one, but Stanley Kwan does some incredible work. Have you seen this one?
I haven't seen this. I meant to watch it when Film Movement put this out in the States.
That sounds right.
But I haven't gotten around to it yet. So yeah, Stanley Kwan is excellent though.
Stanley Kwan, always good. Next one is Castaway. This is from 86, not the Tom Hanks movie. March 24th in the UK, this is getting a Blu-ray release. This will be including an audio commentary by Eugenio Orcolani, Troy Howarth, and Nathaniel Thompson. Another old archival commentary from David Flint. And this is a Nicholas Roeg film that people have been wanting for quite some time. How do you feel about this one, sir?
I have not seen this, but I don't even think this got a DVD, so this is good news.
Yeah, this is a big deal. People have been asking and asking about this one. And I've not seen it either. And if you want Nicholas Roeg, we got another one that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But first, March 24th in the UK, March 25th in North America, we are getting An Amorous Woman of Tang Dynasty from 1984. So I have an audio commentary by David West. I'd never heard of this movie, and it looks pretty wild. This is one of the last films produced at the Shaw Brothers studio, and glad they're doing this one.
Yeah, this one was one I'd never heard of either, but I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, certainly looks interesting. And then the next one is Hong Kong, Hong Kong. This is coming on March 24th in the UK, March 25th in North America. This one is a drama that looks pretty good from the Shaw Brothers studio. This one will have an audio commentary by David West, and then Alex Mann speaks on this one. Any thoughts on this one?
I haven't seen this either, but it's kind of crazy that, I never would have thought that I would be in the position where I would be like, there's too many Shaw Brothers movies coming out. There's just too many getting released. Like, because I mean, for most of my life, they've been impossible to get. And now it's like, just stop. Just like, just take a break for a minute so I can catch up, because it's just so much stuff. And I understand there's so many Shaw Brothers movies of all kinds of genres, and I'm glad they're all getting out there, but it is overwhelming.
Yep. Absolutely is. So I alluded to it earlier. We are getting Pinocchio 964 in the UK from 88 Films as well. This one is a Blu-ray only, not a 4K. This is a part of their Japanarchy collection that they're doing. This will have the limited Obi strip, and then this will also have a booklet. So we'll have a newly filmed interview with the director. We'll have some of his short films, including Girosutu from 1986 and Caterpillar from 88, and then a new introduction by the one and only Stephen Thrower, which is exciting. Now, here's the difference. Do you trust an 88 Films Blu-ray or a Media Blasters 4K, considering they haven't done one ever before?
Well, so they actually just put out one, Fudo, the new generation, but I have not seen it yet, and I have not heard much about it. So I don't know, because Media Blasters is, not exactly the best. They're inconsistent. Yeah, there you go. So I don't know how that one was. I would maybe base it on that potentially. But it's
what I was getting at is I would probably wait for reviews if you're wanting this movie and see how they both look. Let's see. Silent Manimal says, I love the art on this, but I want the 4K. Yeah, the art on this looks good.
What were the extras on the Media Blasters one?
They haven't announced anything yet.
These sound good. These ones sound really good. And so that might actually be a factor as well. If you want the short films, Stephen Thrower is always great. So, if there's is a little bit weak in that department, is the 4K going to be enough of an upgrade over the Blu-ray to justify that? I don't know.
Yeah, the Media Blasters 4K of this movie, you can already pre-order from their site, but there's no mention of extras as far as I can tell. So there's probably nothing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what was on the DVD. It seems like it would be the same stuff, but I don't remember if they had
Well,
anything
and
from
they
this.
just released the Blu-ray like a year ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was Pinocchio. And then we got maybe the biggest news of the week. February 18th, for real this time, because this was announced almost 3 years ago. We are getting a 4K and Blu-ray steelbook for Panic Room from 2002. The David Fincher directed, Jodie Foster, Forrest Whitaker, Jared Leto, Kristen Stewart starring Panic Room that people have been wanting on HD since 2002 is finally coming. First off, how do you feel about Panic Room?
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I didn't love this movie, and I'm I'm happy to revisit it, but I feel like Fincher to me is just sort of mystifying because like he makes some truly amazing films and then he makes some stuff and I'm just like, what are you doing? I don't
Yeah.
understand. He's so inconsistent. He's always technically amazing. Like
Yeah.
he is a technically great director. His films look amazing, but the things that he chooses to work on are just very inconsistent.
I'm the opposite. I really enjoy Panic Room. I've liked most everything that he's done, so this is definitely exciting. I'm just glad it's finally happening. People can just kind of shut up about it. But what's crazy is this continues the trend of titles that were discussed in like the "is this ever going to happen" sort of question. And now we've got our first one coming in 2025, and we'll see what other titles might show up next.
Do we know why this had issues? I never understood.
No, it was never said publicly. One thing that could be is I believe this is one of the films that was done with the 2K DI, even though it had a 35 millimeter
Hmm.
blow up. So they may have gone back and done like a proper 4K on the 35 millimeter and then either upscaled or just properly did the 2K DI on the CG stuff. But I don't know. I hope this looks great. I hope that people are happy with this. It's a great movie and one that deserves a lot of love. The acting in this film is amazing, and yeah, Fincher at I won't say his peak, but a really great release from him.
Well, at the very least, I mean, since this never even had an HD release, you'll get that. Whether or not it's true 4K, I guess we'll
Right.
see.
True. True. We're going to talk about another one of his in that same exact context in just a little bit. Next one, Wellgo USA, one of the most underappreciated labels in 2024, is releasing Escape. That came out from 2024. This will be coming on January 14th. This will have a making of featurette, a character trailer commentary, and this is a Korean film. Wellgo continuously just doing incredible work for like next to no respect. Love what they're doing.
Yeah, they're putting out stuff that nobody else is going to be putting out. Absolutely,
Yeah,
and they do a good job. I mean, they're not setting anybody's world on fire with their stuff, but they're putting it out there. It looks good. You can't ask for more than that,
true that.
and they're reasonably priced.
That is very, very true. One of the best aspects. February 11th, Cinema Guild is releasing Cane Fire from 2020. This is a documentary about the Hawaiian island of Kauai and a lot of the diverse history that happened there. This will have an audio commentary with the director, a theatrical trailer, and a booklet with an essay by Emerson Gu and Cinema Guild, another one that does not get a lot of love or attention. I've never seen Cane Fire. Have you seen this, doc?
Never seen this, but I share the love for Cinema Guild. They're just another one of these labels that's just diligently working, putting out great stuff, putting out great versions of things. They don't get a lot of love, but they really should because they're doing great work.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely great work over at Cinema Guild. Next one is Decal releasing The Return from this year. This is coming on January 21st on Blu-ray from them. This is a Ray Fine and Juliette Binoche film that's supposed to be great, but yet another one that has been hard to see in 2024. Did not show in a lot of places. Did not get a great run. I'm assuming you've not seen this one yet.
I don't know anything about this. Do we know if this is going to be a BDR or an actual Blu-ray though?
I mean, the hard part is it's
Decal, I've been
yeah.
disappointed in them. They put out stuff and then they just cheap out on these releases. I'm glad they're
Yep.
putting them out. I mean, that's all right, but they need to be a little bit more transparent on what they're doing.
Yeah, I would say, we see the Blu-ray logo in the picture, so that should be indicative that it is a press disc and not a BDR. However, they've not even followed that
No,
release.
they're completely inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get.
This is true. But I will say, two of the greatest of all time, Ray Fiennes and Julia Binoche, absolutely incredible in pretty much everything. Next one, Project Silence is coming on February 25th on 4K in a steelbook from MPI and Dark Sky Films. This is basically a full-blown port of the Cape Light release over in Germany. This is another Korean film that's supposed to be incredible. The trailer for this looks super fun. I am very eager to see this. There are so many great movies coming out of Korea over the last few years. This is one I gotta see soon.
Yeah, I haven't seen this or even heard of it, but Korea is kind of a really exciting place, because that a lot of their films do things that you would never expect,
Right.
and that's what's really exciting about it. They don't care about mesh and genre. They don't care about breaking the rules. They'll do whatever, and it seems like those are the films that actually do well there, and like make a lot of money in Korea. So it's exciting that stuff's getting released by multiple labels so we can see it.
And worldwide, that's a
Yeah.
big thing, is everybody gets an equal chance. Here's that VCI release I mentioned. March 11th, they are doing a Blu-ray of Quaxer Fortune. This is a Gene Wilder film from 1970. And just listen to this plot line. It makes you want to watch it. Reminiscent of Harold and Maude and Start the Revolution Without Me, Quaxer Fortune has a cousin in the Bronx, is a gentle comedy about the story of a man out of step with this world, marching to the beat of his own drum. Quaxer Fortune earns his living by following the horse-drawn delivery wagons of Dublin, scooping up the droppings and selling it as fertilizer. Margot Kidder is the American exchange student who finds herself drawn to this unlearned but not unknowing man. This is a film that no other label would put time into.
No, I mean they put it out on DVD, and now I'm glad they're doing a Blu-ray. Hopefully it's decent. It's just with VCI, I just don't know, unfortunately.
Right. I feel like they have improved over the last few years. There was a time, probably from about 2013 to 2020-ish, that was very frustrating for them.
Yeah.
They had some incredible titles that they were just putting out in the worst possible quality on bad encodes, on BDRs, and none of them were worth purchasing, even on sale.
Yeah, I mean, I want them to do better. It seems like even if they do better, then the next time they might do worse again. I just don't know
Yep.
what the issue is. They have contact, like a relationship with Vinegar Syndrome, obviously, because they've licensed Terror 10 Killer and Blood Cult and all that stuff from them. They need to help them. Vinegar Syndrome needs to help them out and creating better discs. Just to give them some pointers or something, because those guys are like the polar opposites of the quality. And
Right.
I feel like VCI does care. Like they've been in the business for a really long time. It's like been a family business, and they're still just doing it because they like what they're doing, and they do good stuff. Like they're the only place that's putting out serials.
Yep.
And like I commend them for that. And some of those look pretty good, but I just want to be able to not have to question whether or not it's going to be worthwhile picking up, or if it's going to be a mess.
Well said. Absolutely true. This is such an odd one. Second Run DVD is putting out Park Lanes from 2015 on Blu-ray on January 27th over in the UK. Now, listen to this plot if you've never seen this. Kevin Jerome Everson's epic, immersive, observational 8-hour documentary, Park Lanes, follows workers in an American factory over the course of an 8-hour shift from clock in to clock out, experienced and presented in real time. Rendering the often invisible and unacknowledged routines and rhythms of manufacturing visible, the film also celebrates the craft and skill developed through the repetition of movements and gestures and explores not just the relationship between film and spectator, but of laborers and their machines. This is literally an uncut documentary of 8 hours of people just going to their job for the day. I don't know if this sounds incredibly enticing or incredibly boring.
So I gotta be honest. This movie is the most exciting release news of the week for me. This sounds so good. I cannot wait to get this. And maybe I'm crazy, but I love stuff like this. And I a couple years ago, Second Run put out a collection of Kevin Jerome Emerson films, which I haven't been able to watch, but I've been really excited about that. So I'm glad they're continuing to support his work, because this seems like, how is this even coming out? It's astounding to me. But I'm gonna definitely, I don't know where I'm gonna find 8 hours, but I'm gonna watch the whole thing in like one sitting.
Joel's going to take a work shift to watch a work shift. So yeah, you get this on 2 discs because it's 8 hours. Of course, it has to be on 2 discs. You got a booklet with new essays. I mean, Second Run does great work. And again, who else is going to put out an 8-hour documentary like this? This is an incredible thing for them.
Yeah, bravo to Second Run. Every one of the releases is so good, and they they curate, so interestingly. Obviously they do a lot of Czech films, but they do a lot of other smaller releases too, and this is definitely one. I cannot see this being a big seller in any sense, just because it's such a weirdly specific thing. But thank goodness it's getting put out there, because I don't even remember this playing anywhere or being able to see it in any form. So it's great, because now I'm definitely going to get it.
Well, and the whole being able to see it in any form, I haven't checked, so if I'm wrong, call me out on it. Sure. This doesn't even feel like something that would ever be on streaming. This is so much bandwidth to lose for one film. And then the filmmaker's only literally going to make, like, if 12 people stream this, they're going to make like a single penny, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This just sounds fascinating to me. I don't know. I mean, it might be terrible. It's the kind of thing that you could go any way with it. Like, it might be so long that like it's transcendent, or it just might be boring. But I'm willing to take that chance and like go along on the journey with it.
All right. Next up, some more of those beautiful indicator 4K releases that we talked about earlier. This first one, are both of these same dates, March 17th in the UK, March 18th in North America. Both are getting 4K and Blu-ray releases. This first one is the Ozploitation classic Thirst from 1979. This is directed by Rod Hardy. This will have a new 4K restoration from the OCN. This will have the audio commentary from 2003 by the director and producer. Retrospective interview from 2022. The only thing that's brand new that I can see on this is a appreciation by the one and only Stephen Morgan, who's an Australian cinema specialist. You've also got a booklet that's going to be in this one with new essays. And I may have watched this one. I remember very little about this if I did.
I don't think I've seen this, although I do think I have the Severin release of this.
Yeah.
I just can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I have it. I'll probably pick this up. So far they're Australian releases that they've been doing, kind of like alternating with the Roland releases. All of them have been great, so it's worth supporting.
And then the next one is Harlequin. This is another Ozploitation film. This is inspired by Rasputin's influence over the Russian court. This is from 1980, same dates that I mentioned before, 4K and Blu-ray. This is going to have commentary from 2004, some archival interviews with a whole bunch of individuals, the Not Quite Hollywood interviews that they did, another appreciation by Stephen Morgan, and then a booklet again. This one I do remember watching. I remember liking Harlequin quite a bit because Umbrella released this as well.
Yeah, this is another one I meant to. I know Scorpion put this out like ages ago randomly, and so this will probably be a vast improvement over any of that.
Yep, has to be. Then we got Hard Truths, the brand new Mike Lee film from 2024, getting a release from Decal. I love that we were just talking about their inconsistent quality. Look at the cover on this. They've got a Blu-ray like
Mhm.
row going across the top of the art for no reason under the Blu-ray logo. I've not seen this yet, but I've heard this is pretty great. It's Mike Lee, which one of the best of all time. Not much to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's Mike Lee, so it's probably going to be great. I will definitely want to check it out. Hopefully the disc is all right.
Sivner says this is apparently Mike Lee's last movie.
Wow. It's really sad actually thinking that we got Mike Lee's last movie and what's his name? No, I'm blanking on it.
Name a film.
He did Cass and
Yes.
his last one was The Old Oak. I don't know why I'm not thinking about it right now.
Somebody's. Oh, I know who you're talking about now. Ken Loach.
Ken
Yeah.
Loach. Yeah, both of them. Last movie. That's just because they've been so consistent. Always around, turning their personal films.
Right.
They're always reliable, and like to have them both be kind of being done is that's a big loss.
Yep. And a big one with Ken Loach reuniting with an actress that he did great work with previously. So I definitely want to see this one. Here is the other one that we were going to talk about from Fincher. Social Network is breaking out of the Columbia Classics volume, I think it was 2 that it was in. It gets a standalone Steelbook 4K release on the same day as Panic Room. This is what that looks like. This will also be released on February 18th, porting over all the extras that were on the Columbia Classics box set release. Looks like a solid release, and now people don't have to shell out the extra money if they don't want the other movies. Social Network, how do you feel about this one?
That's one of the ones I like. I like that movie. I can understand if people don't, but maybe it's because the score is so good. I just love the score for this movie. But it's just, yeah, it's great. I'm glad that people don't have to shell out for the box. At this point, what are we still waiting on out of that box?
I think there's at least 3 more that have not been released out of the second one, and the first one still has like 5 that haven't been released.
That's what I thought. It's weird that the first one they haven't done anything with it.
And that one went out of print much faster than the others. It seems like they realized, oh, these will sell, and they started making more of the other ones or something. But that thing goes for like $600 on eBay nowadays, especially if you got a sealed one.
Yeah. I mean, once they sell out of that and it's just, you have to pay eBay prices or whatever, what does it impact Sony to just like release them? I guess, they want it's a tightrope kind of act because they're like, well, if we put out the individual ones too soon, then the next box set, they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to wait for the individuals ones. So yeah, I don't know, but it's too bad because, if you want one movie, you don't want to have to pay $500.
Right. I'd also still rather, appreciate the Sony box sets with 6 or 7 films for $105, on release date, rather than 7 steelbooks that all come at $35 a piece on release day.
Yeah. I mean, those sets they do a great job on them. And if you have diverse tastes, then they're not too bad because you can find something to like for the most part. And I guess if you don't like one of them, you can just sell them, honestly.
Yeah. They are very weird mixes, and of course, they're not very shelf-friendly either.
Yeah, I can't believe that Stripes is still just languishing that set. You'd think that they would want that one out because the theatrical cut has never been on Blu-ray other than that.
Right.
That's crazy to me because, the extended cut, it's fine, but I never, I grew up with the original version. That's the one I like. I like the pacing better on that.
Well, as usual, after we cover those announcements, we normally check out what's coming out next week in case you forgot. And once again, like October, November, December have been massive for physical media, and next week is pretty huge as well. Demolition Man coming on 4K from Arrow. The Searchers coming on 4K. This is the first Warner Archive 4K release ever. The Faculty 4K, the complete series of Seinfeld on 4K on Blu-ray finally. The Holdovers on 4K from Shout, Kickboxer 4K from Lionsgate, Stir of Echoes 4K Steelbook coming from Lionsgate as well, Transformers 1 getting its 4K Blu-ray release, Far and Away 4K from Shout Select. So many 4K titles. That's a big
Pretty
change.
crazy. Pretty crazy.
Talk of the Town 4K from Sony Pictures, the Conversation 4K Steelbook from Lionsgate, Below 4K from Kino Lorber, Joker 2, Joker Folia Duel, whatever. That one is coming out. Eastern Condors from Criterion, Immaculate 4K from Neon. We'll be able to see how this looks from Neon and Decal. Terrifier 3 making its home video debut next week in the US. Severance Season 1, Evil Does Not Exist from Janus Contemporaries. The Tall Target from Warner Archive. Golden Harvest Volume 2 from Shout. Mr. Lucky from Warner Archive. Nora Prentice from Warner Archive. The Spanish Main from Warner Archive. We've got Black Eye from Warner Archive. Yokohama BJ Blues from Radiance. Heavy Traffic coming from Sandpiper Pictures. The Claim from Kino. Sometimes I Think About Dying from Oscilloscope. I just got my subscription piece in on that one. Need to watch that one here soon. The Mean One Steelbook coming as well. A Night Full of Rain from Warner Archive. Conclave getting its Blu-ray release and oddly coming on 4K in a couple months, but they've already announced that, so you know not to buy the blue. The Pope of Greenwich Village from Sandpiper Pictures. Cheerleaders Wild Weekend from MVD Rewind. Ballad of Josie from 1967. River's Edge from Sandpiper, same as Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, finally coming back to Blu-ray in the US. Mulholland Falls from Sandpiper Pictures as well. The Land That Time Forgot, getting another blue from Sandpiper. Cop Killers from MVD. The Beloved Rogue from Kino Classics. Absolution with Liam Neeson. Tons of titles. Anything that you're excited about there, sir?
Oh man, there's so much good stuff coming out. I already have that Demolition Man on the way, so definitely getting that one. I'm pretty excited to see the restoration on that Searchers. That's going to look gorgeous because that Blu-ray is really old, and the colors on that are going to look amazing. Yeah, there's just too many things. This is so many. I got to get that Kickboxer. I totally forgot that was coming out. They should have been promoting that more because like that's a big deal. It's got both cuts.
It is a big deal.
I'm really excited for that. That's, you know, it's not a great movie, but it's so entertaining.
And it's Jean-Claude. Like everybody is attached to him in one way or another. It seems like.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great that that's finally coming out. Honestly, they should have been promoting that more. I can't believe that they're just kind of doing that. It's the Seinfeld stuff's weird. I don't understand what their logic is between how they decided to do the 4K and the Blu-ray. It's just I don't know. It frustrates me just from the standpoint of like trying to figure out like, well, what do we want to bring in for rental? Do we want to bring in a shitty Blu-ray, or do we want to bring in a 4K that like no one will rent because no one rents TV shows on 4K? I don't know.
That's a solid question. And that it's such a weird thing because it seems like they're obviously sort of balking towards collectors and saying, you want everything done right? Here, have the 4K, have the right aspect ratio, and then we'll do this cheap ass set on Blu-ray for everybody else that doesn't care. But then you already did the work for the 4K. Why are we changing it?
That's what doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like, why don't you just use this? Whatever. I don't know. It's just surprising coming from Sony because they're usually better than that.
I've got a question from Stan talking about Joker 2 Madness for 2. I don't know if they're actually calling that. I can't see the title on this. I mean, it's still listed as oh no, Foley is still listed on the top of the steelbook at least. I don't know. That's a weird one.
Yeah. Oh, also The Tall Target, highly recommended. Really fun, short, kind of like adventure movie. The setup is like, it's like he's a detective on a train. There's a plot to assassinate Abraham Lincoln, but it's like really film noirish. Excellent movie. It's like 70 minutes, so like what can you lose?
Right. You all you're still getting pretty much every new release of Scarecrow, right?
We get as much as we can, but like, you know, when it comes to new, you see how much stuff's coming out.
Right.
Like no one can do it. No one can buy everything. So we have to make choices based
Right.
on okay, is there an existing version?
Right.
And sometimes we have to move stuff around like, well, we'll wait on this for like a month and we'll get it later or that kind of stuff. But we try to get everything. It's just there's too many things.
Speaking of Warner Archive, do you know how you guys are getting Warner Archive nowadays? Is it all through Moviezing?
We get most everything through Alliance nowadays,
The distributor.
which kind of is not the best because, I mean, they have a lot of good stuff, but I don't know if it's because of Allied Vaughn, but the margins on the mod titles are not good at all. Like, half the time we could just buy from Amazon for less than like what the cost is. So that's not great. But that's just how it is.
What's weird on the Warner Archive is like most of those ones coming out next week just showed up on Amazon today to be able to pre-order.
It's been really inconsistent because we always try to pre-order everything so we have the orders in, so they're ready to ship out. We get the first wave of stuff, but Warner Archives have been really crazy. Like sometimes we don't get stuff for like a month after they come out. I don't know why, and I never know whether or not they've actually been delayed or if something else is going on with them. I don't know why.
All right, we are going to move on now to our next segment, which is about 5 of our favorite discoveries from 2024. We didn't discuss much on this. Did you put any rules down for yourself for these, or any sort of barriers for you?
I just basically I didn't want to pick anything that had come out this year that was released this year, either like a new movie or anything that had any sort of release this year. So but we didn't really talk about the rules. I don't think it really matters. It's just we're just sharing stuff that we saw that we liked, essentially.
I was mostly curious on that for you because I mean when we did the Code Red thing, you had some of your own plans that you're like, I got to choose these certain things. So I love hearing the thought process behind it. But let's get to it. Do you have like an actual ranking 5 through 1?
I do, sort of. They go from least obscure to most obscure, kind of. But yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear that number 5.
Okay, here's the first one. 10. Blake Edwards, 10. So I'd never seen this before, but American Masters created a documentary about Blake Edwards earlier this year. I watched that and I was like, I should check out some more Blake Edwards stuff. Blake Edwards is a really interesting director. He's kind of done all sorts of genres. Mostly he's known for the comedies. So like 10 was one of his biggest, kind of most famous movies. So I'll check it out. And it's surprisingly just so great. It's a weird mix of like physical comedy, like slapstick comedy, but like also like a very earnest drama about like interpersonal relationships.
Right.
And like, if you haven't seen it, the plot is about this guy, Dudley Moore. He's having like a midlife crisis kind of thing. He's with this woman, but he's like not sure if he wants to commit to her. And he sees this gorgeous woman in a limousine played by Bo Derek, and he sort of like that becomes his fantasy, and he's kind of like fixated on this. And so it's just kind of about his like very diluted sense of like trying to come to terms with all the things going on in his life and still holding on to this image of this woman as like an object of desire. But it's done in a way that is both really funny but like actually about dealing with these relationships and dealing with the ideas in sort of an adult way. I don't know. It's such an odd tone, but if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Could you share where that's available on physical media for everybody?
Yes. So this is the Blu-ray from Warner Warner Home Video, just a normal, not even Warner Archive. Should be still in print.
Awesome. I did not choose the same rule as Joel, so at least 3 of these came out in 2024 on physical media. None of these are brand new 2024 films or anything like that. But this first one came out very early this year from Arrow, which a lot of people have said consistently that they have dropped in quality. They're doing all these mainstream titles. Everything else that they are choosing is shit. And there's like 3 or 4 that I can point to from this year that really counter argues that in a very effective way, I think. And the first one, this got a complete reappraisal from pretty much all over the world because this started streaming on Shudder around the same time as well. And that is Mute Witness. I had never been able to see this. This 4K came out. It's all also on Blu-ray from Arrow at the same time. This is a Russian story about making a movie, and there is a film set that's happening in this weird setup building that is really hard to explain. And they take liberties on telling this crazy, like almost like a revenge story, but they're searching for something. I don't want to spoil too much since it's a fairly new thing for most people, but this movie really got to me in how they chose to make this movie. One of the best things is there's this like almost whimsical play that they did with shadows in this film that are always interesting, and it happens in like 5 or 6 different scenes, and I can't think of any other director that consistently chose to film like that. This is something that was surprising in pretty much every single scene. I absolutely love this one. Mute Witness is a great film.
Yeah, this is one that, so there's a couple people at Scarecrow. They have a podcast called The Suspense is Killing Us, and this is a movie they've been championing for years and years and years. But I finally just watched it when this came out, and this, like, there's a few sequences in here that are like all time, like the most suspenseful sequences you're going to see. Anything. They're incredible, and then they just keep like building and building and building. You just don't think it can get any more crazier. This is the kind of thing that you're like, how did this movie get overlooked for so long?
Exactly.
Because it's so well done. It's kind of mind-blowing how great it is. And it's good that Arrow finally got to release it and put out like a stunning, nice version of it.
Yeah, it looks incredible. It played earlier this year, like I said, on Shudder and I think another streaming service as well. But we actually watched it as part of our Patreon in the Discord one of the months, super early this year, and it was a blast. It's a really fun like group watch because you like hearing people's reactions, like whoa, at certain scenes. It's fun, and like Joel said, like all the way to the very end, this thing continues to build in ways that you don't see coming. It's incredible.
Definitely, yeah, good pick.
All right, number 4, sir.
All right, so I'm kind of cheating on this. I have 2 for this one, only because the one that I picked. Well, anyway, so part 1 is At Long Last Love. This was a Peter Bogdanovich movie from what's the year? 1975, and when this came out, it was completely hated by critics and audiences alike. It's Peter Bogdanovich's tribute to like 1930s musicals, and specifically Cole Porter. All the songs are done by Cole Porter, but it stars Burt Reynolds singing and dancing, and it's actually really good. Like, it's really heartfelt. The story of it is pretty simple. It's just kind of like a guy, like Burt Reynolds is a rich playboy. He meets a girl, and then there's another couple, and then they kind of like have a romantic triangle or trapezoid, whatever, something like that. There's a lot of songs. There's a lot of like, it's just very classical. It doesn't work completely, but I really appreciate the effort. The sequences are amazing. Like the musical numbers, they're all shot in really long takes of them just performing the stuff with like these great, amazing camera movements, like on dollies and just moving around. It's just constantly going, and it's too bad that it was just hated so much because it was forever impossible to see until Twilight Time put it out in 2013, and that was only 3,000 copies. So now that's the only way you can get it, unfortunately. But it's highly recommended if you can ever see it. I know it's a musical, and people are always just dismissing musicals, but you if you take a chance on it and just kind of go with the theme of it, it also has Madeline Kahn in it, and Madeline Kahn is always great in everything. So you can at least take that from it. Burt Reynolds is great too. He sings, he dances, and I've been watching a lot of Burt Reynolds movies, just trying to catch up on. He's in a lot of great stuff, and this was a really surprising one because he really put himself out there to do this, and I thought it was really a really unique take. But I wanted to pick another one as well because you can't really get this, unfortunately, on anything anymore. It's Fox, so
So who knows?
no one's going to put it out again. Twilight Time amazingly put it out, but so the next one I picked is another Bogdanovich and Burt Reynolds movie, Nickelodeon. This one is sadly only available on DVD, but it's if you picked up the Paper Moon Criterion release earlier this year, and you want some more Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal, check this one out too because it's great. It's also got Burt Reynolds. It's kind of his Bogdanovich's love letter to silent cinema. So it's just like a group of people, they come together, they're making silent movies, and just kind of like the trials and tribulations that go on with that. It's sort of an overlooked Bogdanovich film. I would say definitely watch the director's cut because it is in black and white, which is how he intended it. When it got released, it was in color, and like the whole point of it is that it should be in black and white. It should fit the aesthetic of the time. So I would say check that one out. And that one is also a Sony film, so hopefully someday they decide to put out maybe both cuts on Blu-ray or even 4K.
Nice. One that I've never seen, so that's a good pick. We're taking a very weird turn from my number 4, going in a completely different direction, and I'm going to go way back to 2013 for a movie that many people will never want to see, and that is out of this giant Lars von Trier box set from Curzon to cover Nymphomaniac Volumes 1 and 2. I had never watched it before this year. Did a deep dive on a few von Trier titles that I had been dying to see, and sort of fell in love with it. For those that have never seen it, Nymphomaniac is the story about Joe, played by the incredible Charlotte Gainsbourg, who is a self-diagnosed nymphomaniac who's trying to discover some things, and it is broken into 2 parts, so I guess I kind of cheated too, because it's Nymphomaniac Volumes 1 and 2. It is a really humanist piece of cinema that is so interesting and so open to interpretation in many different ways. The dialogue in this, I don't want to even say film because it's like this weird 4-hour epic that is incredible. I was completely taken by this. It was so beautifully acted. Again, Lars von Trier just simply doesn't care. He will put pretty much anything on screen, and he truly did in much of this movie. There's some of this movie that is grotesque and off-putting, some of this movie that is enticing and alluring, some of this movie that is just completely like tepid and normal, and everything about that is a story that deserves to be told. And I think that he chose a lot of great people to be in it and delivered an incredible, daring piece that most filmmakers would never touch with a stick.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Lars von Trier, whether you like him or hate him, he's always pushing, and he's a provocateur, but like not in the sense of just saying what can I do to like get a response. It's always for a specific reason. He's trying to get to a certain place, and he does that very well. And yeah, I agree. I think that he did a really great job with that one.
That's it's not my favorite Von Trier, but it's pretty damn incredible. I should not have taken as long as I did to watch it.
Well, I feel like when it came out, it was a little bit derided and dismissed, and it's
Like,
sort of
immediately,
unfortunate.
yeah.
Like I think they were just like, oh, this is him just doing like trying to be explicit. It was like there's a
Yeah,
lot more going on than that.
just weird sex stuff. No, there's a lot going on.
Absolutely.
All right, sir. Number
Oh,
3.
okay, so number 3, Big Apple.
Big Apple.
So this is a 2001 TV series. It aired on CBS, and the reason I picked this is because of David Milch. So if you don't know who David Milch is, he's probably best known at this point for creating Deadwood, or you might know him from creating NYPD Blue, which is kind of probably was the most successful thing that he did. But I would say that he's probably one of the greatest writers that television has ever had. He is completely fascinating as a person and as a writer. And he has a very unique voice. The way that he imbues his characters with the voice and just his kind of worldview. I've been trying to watch as much of his stuff as I can, and I stumbled upon this one. So this one came out in 2001. It was right in between him coming off of doing 7 seasons of NYPD Blue and before he would go on to do Deadwood. So I think they were probably looking for, like, hey, just do a cop show like NYPD Blue and
Right.
make us some money. So, but he was really not interested in it. So the kind of setup of the show is some detectives from the NYPD having to deal with the FBI working in a case and kind of like the layers of secrecy and bureaucracy and the stuff that's going on there. But he's not really interested in that at all. He's just mostly interested in the people's lives and the characters. Which is, it's kind of hard to explain if you haven't actually seen any other Milch stuff. But the number one reason to watch this is because of the main performance by Ed O'Neill, who plays the detective. So, Ed O'Neill is mostly known for his comedy work, Married with Children, Modern Family, but he is absolutely fantastic in this. It's hard for me to describe just how interesting and like nuanced his performances in this. I feel like he's a really underrated actor in general, and he seemed like he worked really well and really understood what Milch was trying to do to get through the human side of the characters. Actually, Ed O'Neill was the first choice to be Swearingen in Deadwood, but HBO completely refused that. So they cast Ian McShane, which is amazing. It's a completely different thing. It's like somehow I would like to see both of those exist if you could see parallel dimensions of that kind of stuff. But anyway, I just can't say enough good stuff about David Milch. If you are at all interested in like understanding writing process, like you're a writer or you just like to know how people processes, his autobiography, A Life's Work, is absolutely fascinating. Just he talks about how kind of his process works and how he externalizes it, and it's just fascinating. So that's why I wanted to pick this one. This just kind of it's such a unique sort of gem. Like, it was only aired for 6 episodes. So they didn't even finish airing all the episodes that were shot. There's 8 episodes on this. And it was in such a weird time period prior to HBO really growing and doing a lot of stuff. This one little beacon of light on the show that is doing, it was just ahead of its time, because if it would have been on HBO or some kind of thing, and you could see Milch getting his home there and being able to do the kind of things that he wanted to do, because his process is pretty crazy. I would recommend also, if you haven't watched any of the extra features on Deadwood, where you get to see his process, get to see how organically the show kind of evolves. That's kind of the purest distillation of what he was able to do when he had like the full backing of everyone and like the whole backing of the network. So Anyway, highly recommended. It's only available on a mod DVD from Paramount, but it's still in print, so definitely check it out.
Good call on that one. This next one, and actually my number 2 pick, are both very timely films for 2024 and beyond. And something about something about a riled up election year and choices for people being made that are, probably going to change the future landscape of our society for some time. Always draws unique, interesting parallels with what I'm watching, and I just seem to dwell back on some of these films with today's landscape in mind. And one that I think a lot of people saw for the first time this year, that I also saw for the first time, that I fell in love with, was released by Fun City Editions, who have done incredible work with pretty much every single release they've touched. But one that I am uniquely proud of my dear friend Erica Schultz being able to do the commentary on this one as well. That is 1983's Deep in the Hearts, also known previously as Handgun. This is a title that she has been championing for some time. It is a story about Karen Young, who you see on the slipcover here, moving out on her own and living in Texas. And it's set in Texas very much as a very specific choice. And what's unique about it is it's a co-production between a production company in Texas and a production company from the UK. And so the two different views on society of these two production companies making this piece makes it just this unique slice of this time period that really only would have worked when they made it. And Karen Young, unfortunately, meets a man, and he ends up taking advantage of her and rapes her. And she immediately becomes hell-bent on getting revenge. And it's not your typical rape revenge story, but it is a very realistic view of a incredible, like, harrowing environment for a young woman that is already petrified and thrust into a situation where she feels obligated to be kind to somebody, and they take advantage of that. And the amount of modern day conversations that you could apply to this film are remarkable. It's kind of crazy how much it's still relevant to this day and age. The end of the movie is incredible. We talked earlier about horror movies in 2024 not being able to nail an ending. So many of these that I'm bringing up just perfectly nail the ending. Something about a lot of these movies that are getting great restorations are because they're incredible films from start to finish, and they're able to really nail the storyline. And this movie, Deep in the Heart, or Handgun, whatever you want to call it, it truly does. This movie is incredible, and I hope people check it out. Still in print, of course, from Fun City, just came out this year. Check it out.
Yeah, this is it's a great movie. It's a hard one to recommend because it is difficult to watch, but it probably encapsulates and it has its finger on the idea of the ingrained culture, like being the cause for both like the obsession with guns and like the kind of like masculine, like toxic masculinity or whatever you're talking about, and how those kind of intersect. Yep. But it does interesting things with that as well. I kind of like there's the sequence where she kind of starts like going on her road to revenge and kind of like getting into the gun culture, and kind of how you see her get immersed in that, and how they accept her into it when she proves that she knows how to use a gun is it's such an interesting kind of trajectory within the movie that you don't really expect to come, but it feels very real. Yeah. Like the people that they have in that are just amazing. Also, I would say the actual rape scene in that movie is probably one of the most disturbing I have ever seen. And that's not because it's particularly graphic or anything. It's so brutal, but only because of just how, like, this guy, it's like he doesn't even care. It's just about the power.
Yep.
And the way that he dehumanizes her in that scene, and it goes on for a little while, and it's just It's a really tough scene, but it's done in a way that is not normally depicted, I would say.
Well, and it's also not very sensationalized either. It's
No.
incredibly realistic and like a very, yeah, this has clearly happened just like this literally millions of times.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent movie. A tough movie, but uh it's good that that's getting out there again. All these
Yeah,
labels doing this stuff because it looks great as well.
I agree. All right, sir, two left.
All right, mine is a lot stupider, but that's all right. So I'm gonna do the Dragon Gate. So this is one of the perks of being around Scarecrow and just being like immersed in this giant library, because you just like wander around and you look at things and you're like, oh, what's this? Trauma put out this tape and it's banned in South Korea. Huh? What's that? So you end up watching this movie. So this movie's from 1994. It's directed by Mike Marvin under the pseudonym Michael Oliver. So he's best known for Hamburger, the motion picture, and The Wraith, if that gives you any indication. But he's just kind of like a hired gun, I think, because the real impetus behind this movie, the real driving force, is Dan Coplin, who is the producer, writer, and star. So, like, when you have the producer, writer, and star, you know you're in for a treat. You're in for a passion project. And this movie is a pretty it was a pretty common genre in the early 90s, what I would call white guy martial arts movies. There was a lot of them in the early 90s. So like I've kind of a fondness for them. And this dude is like the most white guy martial art guy ever. So he does kendo and he's a lawyer. And Dan Coplin, Dan Coplin's also just a lawyer. So it's like, he's playing himself as the guy who practices kendo. But his girlfriend, the movie starts with his girlfriend, like, I'm leaving you because all you do is lawyer and play and do kendo stuff. That's exactly what she's like. You just, that's all you do. So fast forward to a couple months later, he goes to a party. It's a Christmas party. So this is a Christmas movie, in my opinion. And so he runs into her there and they're like, oh, okay, nice to see you. But then she gets randomly kidnapped by some guy who hits on her, and then somehow they escape into an alternate dimension full of ninjas and other weird stuff. So they're in this other dimension. All of a sudden, Jeffrey Lewis shows up. So if you don't know Jeffrey Lewis, he's in a ton of Clint Eastwood movies, mostly known for like Every Which Way Loose and stuff. You'll definitely recognize him, but he's in this movie randomly. He's kind of just some weird mystical teacher guy. So he'll give you he'll basically make the plot go forward or give you some advice or whatever. He gives him some magic words and explains that he has to like solve a riddle, and it's completely crazy, honestly. So like he has to go into this other place. He's fighting ninjas and it's pretty gory. Like he decapitates a lot of ninjas and disembowels them and stuff. It's just this white guy with the samurai sword and like this really square haircut. I don't know, but these are the kind of movies that make it worthwhile to like discover, because you're like, this person was so completely serious about this. They had this project, they wanted to make it happen. They put everything that they could into it, and it got released. It's ostensibly like kind of tying into the martial arts thing that was going on at the time, but it's really about the guy's philosophy of like how to attain enlightenment in life. So like as it gets further on, it gets way more metaphysical and strange. It's only 80 minutes, so it's worthwhile seeing. Unfortunately, the tape is pretty hard to find, and it was released on DVD, but only as a Create Space Amazon DVD, which I don't think a lot of people bought. So now it's like impossible to find.
Right.
So I'm going to say it's on Tubi. I don't normally would say that, but definitely watch it on Tubi. It's crazy. And I would say if anybody has a label out there, this is one that is absolutely in dire need of a complete like rebirth, a re-release to get out there, because there's honestly, it's super unique and interesting and fun and entertaining, and there's stuff that is similar to this but just worse released by other people. So, and it's shot on film, but I think it was edited on video, unfortunately.
Of course. Oh man, yeah. This would be. This feels like it's begging to be a Vinegar Syndrome rediscovery here soon.
It's like maybe I'm overselling it, because the joy of this kind of thing is like you just randomly stumble upon it and you start watching it and you're like, what the fuck did I get myself into now? But I don't know. I always like these weird ones. I'd compare it to, it's not nearly as insane as Champagne and Bullets or something like that, but they're both lawyers, so I don't know what it is about lawyers wanting to make these movies where they're
Well,
like
that's funny
action
too. That helps.
or whatever. But yeah, it's just I just really appreciate the sincerity that they bring to this. Like maybe they're full of it, maybe they're just like have a giant ego and they're like, I should do this thing and I know all about making a movie, I'm going to make this big statement. But you know what, God bless that. I wish more people would do that. Just be like, I have the confidence to put myself out there.
I'm glad that you're choosing the happy titles because I'm coming back with the sad again. This is this is a film that is from 2007 from Romania, released by Criterion, and then over in the UK it got a Artificial Eye release. This is a movie that is called 4 months, 2 weeks, or sorry, 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. This is a story about two individuals that are making their way into this just really rough situation. Their names are Otilia and Gabita, and they are preparing for like a night away. And unfortunately, it is a night away to get an illegal abortion. And just like we talked about with Deep in the Heart, this is a bit of a difficult movie to watch. And it was a discovery because there is, like we talked about earlier, there are trends in filmmaking, and you can kind of see it in modern filmmaking right now. Since Roe v. Wade was repealed, there is a number of films that have come out, like Immaculate, that show forced childbirth. There have been a number of films that have showed problems with abortion. There's been a number of films that have showed stuff with troubled children because of Roe v. Wade. It's like a political response to what is happening. And this is a very clear response to actual political choices that are outlining a medical procedure in another country that has forced somebody to do something that they never wanted to do and grapple with a tough situation. These two people are put into one of the most vulnerable situations of their lives, because if they get caught, they can go to prison immediately. And obviously everything surrounding this is secretive already. And because of that, the individual that they're going to visit takes advantage of them. And again, sort of like Deep in the Heart, this movie is just harrowing from start to finish. You feel on edge through most of it because you know at any moment anything terrible could happen to these two. And it's just ridiculous that they're thrust into this situation. It's an incredible movie, sort of a difficult watch, like I said, but one that people should see, especially if you're, anywhere associated with or close to a political stance on the idea of abortion.
Yeah, man, you're picking the depressing ones.
Yes, I am.
I mean, it's a great movie, but it's it is tough. But the way that it actually takes on what it's trying to take on is actually amazing, though. It's not, it could do it in a very dry way, but it doesn't. It's very engaging.
Incredibly, yes. That's a huge discovery for me. This is one I wanted to see for a couple of years. Criterion released it in like 2019, I want to say, and one that I've had since about then, and just finally got to it. And it's an immense film.
Absolutely.
All right, sir. Here we are.
All right, I'm on my last one, and this one I'm going to make it easier. This is one that people should be able to track down. And I wanted to pick this one because it is maybe the best thing I've seen this year, maybe the best thing I've seen in a lot of years.
Wow.
And it is kind of the reason, I see something like this. It's the reason that I love watching films to discover stuff. So that's going to have to be Closed Circuit.
God, this is a great movie.
I don't want to tell too much about the actual story. So if you don't know much about this, it's just basically a mystery about people stuck in a movie theater. But I don't want to tell you anything too much about it because it really is important to go in as cold as possible. Just know this movie is absolutely great. It's crazy to me that it was so hard to see for so long until Severin put out the Blu-ray. And it's one of those things that you see it and it will keep you guessing the entire time. You will never know what this movie is trying to do up until the end, which will just destroy you because it's so great. It's just such a joy to discover something like this. Especially because it's kind of about filmmaking. It's about film viewing. All of that stuff is kind of mixed together. We talked about this before, so I know that you're on board with this. But I just want everyone out there. Unfortunately, you already missed the sale. You could have bought this for like $10. You should have bought it for $10. It's worth way more than that. But anybody that's kind of overlooked this release, yeah, because Severin, they put out a lot of different stuff. This one is a complete gem. And I feel like some people have found out about it, but not nearly enough. So absolutely check it out at your nearest opportunity.
This movie, obviously they covered it like in their podcast episode last year when they did the sale titles in November, but that's kind of all the marketing they did for it. And then they released it on Black Friday to like little to no fanfare. And this movie is a masterpiece. This is like immediate top 5 in the entire Severin catalog ever, literally.
Yeah, like this is one I still think about constantly because it's so fascinating, and the ideas that it's trying to explore are so interesting. And it's crazy that it's just like this little thing that's just never been available, and then Severin drops it. You're like, how has this been overlooked for so long?
Yep.
Because just the filmmaking within it, like it's so well made on every level, but it's just been languishing in like terrible like bootleg copies.
Yep. And I now didn't get like this giant bells and whistles release from them, so people aren't clamoring to get it. And I believe Sibner is correct. I think it was on sale for only $7.50 in this Black Friday sale, which to me indicates it hasn't sold well for them at all, which is awful. Awful.
It's
it is
very
such a great movie.
Unfortunate, but it kind of goes back to people like this is. I like the community with the physical media folks. We're all here for each other, but like sometimes you do need to be more open-minded and take a chance on something. For $7.50, I mean, come on. That's like less than going to see a movie in the theater, and then you'll own a thing.
Much less.
This one is a safe bet. Just see it any way that you can. If you are a fan of films at all, you will like this. I mean, there's just no way you can't. If you don't, I mean, that's fine. You're welcome to your opinion, but it was such a joy to discover this. And I went in completely cold. I was like, this sounds interesting. I love movies that are set in a specific location, and I like movies that are set in a movie theater. So this will be really interesting. And it was so much more than that. So much more.
Yeah. This movie's great, and it's one of the only movies that came out on disc in the last 4 years that I've watched like 3 times. It is that good.
Yeah, oh man, I love this movie. Yeah,
solid number 1.
Everyone that I know that has actually watched it is like, this movie is amazing. Seriously, so take that as an endorsement.
All right, so my last one is one that Dr. Will Dodson has been trying to get me on for a while, and there's never been a Blu-ray release in the States. And finally, not Arrow, why did I say Arrow? Umbrella over in Australia took it upon themselves to release this incredible film, and this is 2008's The Chaser. This
Ooh.
is a movie that is directed by Na Hong Jin, a South Korean film that is about some sex workers that keep going missing, and the guy that's overlooking these sex workers, aka a pimp, they are trying to figure out why they're going missing, and they send a girl out there to try to track them down, and she goes missing, and so he goes after them himself and discovers a dented car, and from there's some light investigating, but from then the chase is on, and this movie doesn't slow down from moment one. It is an incredible piece of filmmaking that is so interesting because it's a serial killer story baked within this like crime thriller that are both happening at the same time. And because it's South Korea, they don't hold anything back. There are so many parts in this movie that if it was an American production, it would have been solved or they would have done it in a much like softer way. But it's South Korea, so they're just like, no, we're going to walk in and we're going to brutally beat the hell out of this person or whatever, and show all of it, of course. And this movie is tense. It is genuinely creepy. It feels sleazy. It is all kinds of just different emotions wrapped up in one. But what's funny is for a movie called The Chaser, there's chases. There's actual multiple chases, and for a lot of movies, they wouldn't have done that. It would have been something that would have been to get people in, and it's just great. The entire thing. There's so many parts too that are almost false endings in this film that I don't know why. Sometimes I hate that, but in this movie, I appreciate it so much because it felt like by the time this was actually getting to the end of the movie, I felt like it was only, I don't know, 30 minutes into it, and I wanted so much more out of it. But
Mhm.
the movie is a freaking dark masterpiece. I adore this movie. I will be watching this quite often. The Chaser from 2008. I'm hoping somebody in the U.S. puts it out so that we can get more eyes on it because it's a masterpiece in my opinion.
I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if somebody didn't, because this is one of those. I haven't seen this. This is one that, like, I keep hearing about, like, oh, this one is just, you got to watch it.
Right.
And I've heard that enough times. At this point, I want to watch the Blu-ray, so maybe I'll just wait
Yep.
a little bit longer. But yeah, we were talking about South Korean films a little earlier, but they go to places that most places wouldn't go, and they know how to make a movie that's like long but like doesn't feel long, if that makes sense. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, this one I'm definitely gonna have to check out.
Again, masterpiece, and I don't say that lightly. It is quite brutal. I don't know why I did it. Literally all of my movies are, well, You Witness isn't like a difficult watch, but it's pretty tense throughout. The other four are pretty difficult
Yeah,
watches.
I picked fun ones.
Oops. Two sides of a fun cinema loving coin. Anything else that we want to pitch? Any other shout outs for discoveries this year? Or anything you want to hype up for the store?
Oh man. No, I don't know. I mean, just you can rent a lot of the stuff by mail. So
Yeah.
if there's something that you've been dying to see, that's an option out there. It's pretty low cost, low barrier to do. Or you can get in touch with me and I'll help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say there is so much going on at Scarecrow. If you're anywhere near, when I say near, I'm saying like within 100-mile radius, you should absolutely be making the jaunt to get up there. I've never been, and I'm dying, dying to show up. So I'm hoping I can make that happen in the next handful of months. It is somewhere that is like my mecca now. I just publicly want to say thank you for continuing to support this little tiny magazine that I've done. I mean, it seems like Scarecrow has been the main driving force behind a lot of people getting it, and I know people that genuinely wait until it's on the Scarecrow shelves to go pick it up every single time it's released. So thank you.
Well, I mean, you're the driving force behind that, so don't sell yourself short, because you've turned that from like a tiny zine to like a proper magazine, and every issue it gets more polished and more just ambitious.
We're doing our best. Shout out to Stan in the chat who does a hell of a lot of work on these. So thank you. Yeah, not much else to say. Again, thank you for showing up this month, Joel. I think I said it last week, but I'll hint at what we got going on. I feel like this is an all-star month. We started with Dr. Will last week. We've got Joel this week. Next week, Aaron from Cine Journeys, who was in the chat earlier. He's probably snoozing now, but he'll be here next Thursday. And then I got a first-time guest coming the day after Christmas that I'm super excited about, that you all know and are going to be happy to spend some time with them. It's been an incredible couple weeks, and I'm just happy that we all are here together at the end of a tumultuous year, not only for the world, but I mean, physical media. We have heard so many stories of it dying. We even talked about the LG thing earlier, but I mean, even tonight on a slow week, we had like 45, 60 announcements, something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this year there's been so many Grail titles released or that will be released, so it's hard to know what to think at this point.
That's too true. All right, everybody. Well, if you are interested in having more of these conversations 24/7, consider joining the Patreon so you can come hang out in the Discord. We would love to have you. Link for that's in the description below. Other than that, till next week, have a good, safe week, and we will see you next Thursday. Appreciate you.
See you later, everybody.
Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share it with someone else that may appreciate this.